Shangguan looked at Gong Ren pleasantly and couldn't help asking, "Really?" Finally, the party came to the gate of Liangjian City. A few of them dismounted and asked their men to take the goods and robbers to the master's house. Gong Ren took his things out of the goods and put them in his luggage. So he led them, Gong Ren and others, to a mansion. The mansion was incredibly big. It seemed that it was not worse than the lord of the city. Shangguan couldn't help smacking, "I think you mercenary leaders have a better life than the lord of the city." Gong Ren smiles, bows and leads them to the master's room. Before long, Gong Ren stopped in front of a house, turned his head and looked at Shangguan and Nangonji behind him, indicating that they were here. Respectfully knocked on the door, Gong Ren outside said, "Master, today our goods are found by these two people. Come in." There was a man's voice in the room, so the door was opened, and Shangguan went in. There was a very charming woman standing at the door of the room, twisting her waist at several people and giving a wink by the way. 3 people go in together. Shangguan and Nangong Yi are arranged on the edge of a table. Gong Ren Lu has run to his master, quietly muttering something. Before long, I only heard the master haha loudly. Then I picked up the wine bowl and said with a smile, "No matter what, thanks to the 2 adults intercepting the goods that we were robbed, otherwise we might be finished. I'm going to take the next pay cow." Said, picked up the wine bowl, must respect 2 people a bowl. Shangguan and Nangong Yi have no choice but to report their names. They also take a bowl, take a sip and put it on the table. Pei Cao saw that they didn't seem to drink much, so he put down the wine cup and said faintly, "It's just that they are in urgent need of a teleportation array." On hearing this, Shangguan stood up anxiously and walked to Pei Cao. He was surprised. "So, do you really have a teleportation array that can send us to the boundary of Mudu? The boundary of Wood Capital?" Pei Cao and Gong Ren looked at each other and saw each other's face pale. I can venture to ask, why do you want to go to the boundary of Mudu?" Shangguan said with a smile. "Because we were attacked there and the whole teleportation array was destroyed, we were separated from our friends. Now we plan to go back to the boundary of Mudu from teleportation array." Pei Cao nodded, took a sip from his glass, looked down and thought for a long time. This time, he said, "In fact, if I lend you the teleportation array, it's okay to go back to the border of Mudu. However, the border of Mudu has become a desolate city now. If you go there, it's like death." Hearing this, Shangguan had no choice but to laugh. "Don't worry, we won't have any problems. After all, there are still many friends. All they can think of is to meet in the boundary of Mudu." Gong Ren looked at Pei Cao timidly, then turned his head to see Shangguan, Nangong and others. His brows wrinkled slightly. Pei Cao felt his chin, narrowed his eyes and thought carefully for a long time. Then he said slowly, "You know, this transmission array is not so easy." "Master!" Gong Ren shouts Pei Cao in a hurry. He is almost aware of what Pei Cao wants to say. Nangong Yi, with a faint smile, picked up his glass and sipped his wine. "Is Mr. Pei going to discuss with us the price of using the teleportation array?" With these words, Pei Cao's eyes in front of him immediately filled with light. He hurried forward and said, "What's your price?" Shangguan seemed to scratch his head in embarrassment. He couldn't help sighing, "What can we do? We don't have any money. Please forgive me. Can we use it?" When he heard that he had no money, Pei Cao's face immediately cooled down. "No money? I don't know what you think if you don't have money. Is this teleportation array available to anyone?" Gong Ren, who was already in a cold sweat, looked at Pei Cao in a panic and kept winking. But Pei Cao couldn't see it at all. His clothes were arrogant and domineering. "Why, do you have no money and just want to use it for nothing?" Shangguan seems very helpless. He turns to Gong Ren, with a smile of unknown meaning. Gong Ren's face turned pale and he swallowed. He looked down at Pei Cao, who was beside him. "That master." Gong Ren scratched his head and frowned. He didn't know how to organize the language. Shangguan lips light pursed, a look at a good play, looking at the 2 people in front of him. "What? You don't look like people without money, do you? Why can't you even pay for it?" Pei Cao sneered and touched his chin. "I think you want to save our caravan for free." "So?" Shangguan rubbed his eyebrows and said, As early as I said, when those people said they wanted to share the things with us, we should promise. In this case, we should have money. Pei Kao suddenly opened his eyes wide. His eyes seemed to be able to spray out anger. What do you say? Shangguan sighed, scratched his head and sighed. Forget it, Nenganji, let's go. I think there should be a teleportation array there. Then they both stood up and walked out of the house. The two adults. Wait, Gong Ren suddenly yelled. His voice trembled and he swallowed. But Shangguan and Nenganji have already walked out of the house and slammed the door. Gong Ren took a deep breath and was about to cry. He turned to Pei Kao and cried anxiously, "Don't let them go. They know our secret." Before finishing a sentence, Pei Kao was shocked. He opened his eyes to Gong Ren. He was angry and kicked Gong Ren's stomach. Gong Ren suddenly burst into blood and fell to the ground. But master, the two of them are so powerful that we are not rivals at all. If we let them go like this, we will certainly have no good fruit to eat. Gong Ren coughs twice, spits out a mouthful of blood and grasps Pei Kao's leg. Pei Kao kicked him away and rushed out of the room. You wait. Pei Kao yelled at the two men who had just left. Let's discuss it again. I'll let you go. Shangguan turned to Nangong-yi. Nangong-yi raised his mouth slightly. It's really troublesome. So Pei Kao, with a sad face, took two people to the teleport array. Our teleportation array is seldom used, so. Pei Kao scratched his head and laughed. If the transmission is not successful. Before he finished speaking, Nangong-yi's hand was already wrapped with purple fighting spirit. Pei Kao's face turned white because of his strong momentum. He swallowed the rest of his words and murmured, "Don't worry, you will succeed." So Shangguan and Nenganji both stand on the transmission array. Nenganji murmurs a few words in a low voice. In an instant, there is a white light, and their figures have disappeared. In a flash, their figures appeared in a valley. That is to say, we have reached the boundary of Mudu. Shangguan sighed. After so long, finally back. Nangong-yi also smiles and looks relaxed. They walked straight along the valley. And the desert has become a desert city of quicksand tribe. At this time everywhere is full of blood. Mengbai helped Chi-yi out of the tribe. At this time, the news that the cannibal tribe was slaughtered has spread all over the desert. Two people everywhere to find an inn to stay. Mengbai helped Chi-yi's recuperate, soon has been better than half. The two packed and prepared to leave. Where should we go to find other people? Mengbai asked. Looking around, there was a hot wind blowing in the barren desert. There were no more people except those around. We should go back to the border of Mudu. Chi-yi bowed his head for a long time and murmured, "We are separated from the boundary of Mudu. I think other people will try their best to return to the boundary of Mudu." Mengbai frowned and sighed. How can we find the transmission array? There is no teleportation array in the boundary of Mudu. Where should we teleport? Teleport, you ask me? Around, suddenly came a voice. Let Mengbai and Chi Knight have turned to see. Jia Zhong. Mengbai opened his mouth and seemed surprised. Where did you go? I thought you were eaten by cannibals when we slaughtered the city. Jia Zhong laughed, sat down and took a sip of tea and said, How can I die so easily? It's not too cheap for you. I haven't asked you for intelligence money yet. He turned to look at Chi-yi and said hello with a smile. Mengbai rushed over and was very surprised. You mean, do you know where there is a transmission array? That's natural. My family has it. Jia Zhong looked at Mengbai with a proud face. That would be wonderful. Chi-yi drank the water in the cup light way. Then take us to your house, little sister. The water in Jia Zhong's mouth spewed out for a long time. He coughed violently and stopped for a long time. He looked at Chi-yi in surprise. I said you too, why do you think I'm a sister? I'm really a man. Chi-yi didn't speak. He stood up and walked outside the inn. Mengbai looks at Chi-yi going out, then turns his head and looks at Jia Zhong suspiciously. Then he goes out with Chi-yi. I said you, Jia Zhong yelled. Just as he wanted to say something, he lowered his head and looked at his chest. He was also a little suspicious and blushed. He wrapped up his clothes and ran after them. After a while, Several people were already standing at the door of Jia Zhong's house. "This is your home?" Meng Bai couldn't help opening his mouth. "Yes, I am the child of this tribal elder, so you can rest assured that I will not pit you." With a smile, Jia Zhong welcomed them in. "Jia Zhong, where are you going?" Suddenly, a voice came from the mansion, which attracted Meng Bai and Qi Yi's eyes. They turned their heads and took a meaningful look at Jia Zhong. Suddenly, they heard an extremely dignified voice behind them. "Jia Zhong, come here for me." Jia Zhong vomits his tongue at Qi Yi's and Meng Bai, and walks to the old man behind him in a low voice. "At the end of the front is my room. You can wait there first. I'll tell my father about the situation, and he will agree you to use my transmission array." "I'll trouble you, little sister," Qi Yi said with no expression on his face, but with a slight pick on the tip of his brow, and a look on his face like, "Do you see the truth?" made Jia Zhong blush and run away. "If it goes well, we may be able to leave tonight." Meng Bai sighed and sat on the bench of the corridor with Qi Yi's, looking at the scenery of the garden. Although it is in the desert, the garden is very elegant and the small bridge and flowing water are luxurious. Just as they were admiring the furnishings of the whole mansion, there was a sudden sound of footwork behind them. They turned around and saw a dignified old man with a pretty girl coming out of the room behind them. "I don't know if the two distinguished guests are coming here. I'm sorry to meet you. I'm Jia Xingqiao." The old man's gray hair, squinting and laughing, kind and dignified. Meng Bai and Qi Yi's also return a ceremony, each reported his name, then Jia Xingqiao took them to the main hall. At this time, Jia Zhong changed into a pink dress. His hair, which was originally high on the back of his head, is now all soft on the back of his head. "It's amazing." Meng Bai and Qi were stunned for a long time. Then he exclaimed, "It's such a beautiful little girl." Hearing Meng Bai's praise, Jia Zhong lowered his head shyly and laughed. "Who thought you were so smart? I can see that I'm a girl at a glance. My daughter is mischievous. It's really hard for you to take care of her all the way. Did she go to the place near the cannibal tribe to play again?" Jia Xingqiao touched Jia Zhong's head lovingly and sat on the throne with Jia Zhong. "I heard that there is a teleportation array in your house, so I asked Ling Qianjin to meet you." Meng Bai stands up with a smile and bows to Jia Xingqiao. "You are very kind, young Xia." Jia Xingqiao quickly stood up and bowed to Meng Bai. He waved to the people around him. The heat around him took up trays and put them in front of them. He said, "Look, the two young Xia haven't eaten yet. Let's talk while eating." Meng Bai and Jia Xingqiao sat down and ate together. "Listen to Jia Zhong, you two have slaughtered the cannibal tribe?" Jia Xingqiao put the food in his mouth and looked at them with a smile. "Young Xia, I don't know how much help you have done us. Many tribes and caravans in the desert have been attacked by quicksand tribes, so we call them cannibals. The cannibal tribe's whereabouts are uncertain all day, but many people are killed by this tribe. They eat human flesh. It's really cruel." Jia Xingqiao sighed, very distressed. Qi Yi's lowered his head and put a piece of meat in his mouth. As soon as he wanted to put it in his mouth, he suddenly remembered the bloody woman who had been cut down in the water prison. For a moment, he retched and put the meat down quietly. "But now, young Xia, you have wiped out the whole tribe. I must tell the good news to the whole tribe." Jia Xingqiao laughed, picked up the wine cup and stood up. "Let me, on behalf of all the tribes suffering from tea poisoning, offer you a glass of wine." Meng Bai and Qi Yi stand up in a hurry to cope. Until he was full of wine and food, Jia Xingqiao's cheeks were red and he laughed. He was obviously very happy. Looking at the two people in front of him, Jia Zhong seemed to be worried. He turned to shake Jia Xingqiao's sleeves and said, "Dad, take them to the teleport array. I think they must have something very important." Jia Xingqiao narrowed his eyes, nodded, waved to the maid to remove the tableware, stood up and walked towards the door. "You two, please follow me." Not long after, Jia Xingqiao and Jia Zhong took Meng Bai to the transmission array and said, "I don't know, where are you going?" Meng Bai frowned, thought for a long time, and sighed, "We are going to the boundary of Mudu as long as we can send it to the nearby area." Finally, it's about to go. Qi Yi's looked at the transmission array in front of him and sighed. can you still come back? Jia Zhong stood behind Jia Xingqiao and suddenly said timidly, looking at Meng Bai with one eye, pitiful. If we are destined, we can see each other again. Meng Bai lowers his head and smiles. He stands on the transmission line with Qi Yi's and waves to Jia Zhong. A white light, the moment will be 2 figures away. In ancient times, the summoner's tomb, on the most central square of the tomb, Cloud Dance closed her eyes and constantly absorbed the power passed by the jade plate. This power is extremely huge. Even after a long time, it seems that it has absorbed only a little. The transmitted power has not been reduced at all. Originally, Yunwu wanted to absorb them as soon as possible. At least he tried them. But it didn't take long for all the people who tried to win the jade medal from Yunwu to be defeated by Longqingxi. If they didn't bother to show their real strength, Longqingxi alone would be able to resist all the people here. Finally, as more and more people failed, they didn't realize how powerful the enemy they were facing until they all fell to the ground. It's boring. Small Nine Lazy said, that put out a few tails also all took back, finally all disappear. Those who fell to the ground all looked in horror at the 3 people who had gathered and stood in front of the Firestone team. Their eyes were full of horror. Come on, let's go, let's go. Some people said in horror, and then they got up from the ground one after another, took their companions with them, and retreated in a panic, as if they would stay forever after walking a little late. Damn it, the master of Mu City gritted his teeth and looked at the extremely safe Cloud Dance surrounded in the middle. His eyes were full of reluctance. But even so, the Lord of Mu City has no way to step forward. Lord, let's go. The entourage behind carefully said that if it were not for the Lord here, they would have left directly. Go Mu City Lord Abite Teeth, mercilessly say. Then he tried not to attract the attention of the 3 people and quickly withdrew. The leader of Muching, who has always been a man of the moment, actually has some talent in escape. I don't know if it's his luck or Longqingxia. They don't care about it at all, so they left safely. Not long after leaving the square, he directly collided with a man at the corner. The Lord of Mu City was seriously injured. He fell back directly under the collision. Before the people behind him could say anything, the people on the opposite side had already spoken. Well, isn't this the Lord of Mu City? Why don't you go inside and go back instead? The refined voice rang out, but the tone was so poor. Mu Xiaoming looked at him with a puzzled face and said, "What do you want to say? Why don't you say it again?" The master of Mu City complained repeatedly in his heart. He was bullied by Yunwu's friends just inside. He came out and ran into Yunwu's friends again. But these people's skills were more and more powerful. How could they be so unlucky? But then, the master of Mu City suddenly thought of something. Looking at Mu Xiaoming's handsome face, he had a plan. There's just been a big fight inside. Now it's too late to hide. Who dares to go inside? The Lord of Mu City said with a serious face, looking very sincere, "Alas, I didn't expect that this time it was in vain, and finally I made wedding clothes for the people in Huoshi Town." Flint Town? Mu Xiaoming was stunned for a moment. Making wedding clothes for Flint Town? Huolin, who was not far behind Mu Xiaoming, could not help but brighten his eyes. Then he stepped forward and asked, "What do you mean by that? Do you mean I live in Flint Town?" The Lord of Mu City glanced at him coldly and hummed, "I didn't expect that the Lord of Huoshi Town should be such a person. It's clear that the inheritance has been obtained by Yunwu, but he didn't know where he got the experts and surrounded the Yunwu group. If Huoling didn't protect him desperately, I'm afraid Yunwu would have died in Huoshi Town long ago." As soon as he said this, Huolin went up and grabbed the Lord Mu's collar. "What are you talking about? The city master can't be like that. How can the city master do such a thing when he clearly wants to make friends with Miss Yunwu?" As soon as Huolin finished his words, he was directly attacked by the follower behind the Lord Mu. He was so emotional that he didn't have time to resist and flew a long distance. "Stay away from our Lord." The people behind the Lord Mu received the eye prompt and said coldly, "You are not qualified to question the Lord." Mu City Lord looked at Mu Xiaoming and saw that he pursed his lips and did not speak. He did not know if he had listened to his words. Believe it or not, if it wasn't for Huiding, I wouldn't have suffered so much. If you don't believe it, just go and have a look. If you can save Yunwu. Having said that, the Lord of Mu City no longer stayed and left here with the people behind him. Huolin was very confused, but he couldn't believe that his lord would do something like that, but it didn't look like he was lying to see the attitude of the Lord. Let's go first. Lin Yuntong, who has not spoken for a long time, looks at their reaction and says. Before he had finished speaking, Mu Xiaoming had already started. He ran towards the inside as fast as he could, and the two people behind him also kept up with him. A moment later, a figure quickly appeared on the square. As they heard from the master of Mu City, Yunwu was surrounded by people. Huolinger carefully protected her, and there was no one else in the square except the people in Huosher Town. In such a scene, isn't Yunwu betrayed by Flint Town? Mu Xiaoming's face was extremely cold. He looked at the people sitting in front of them. Besides Huoting, there was a man and a woman around Huoting. Several people who are sitting together waiting for Yunwu to wake up think that no one dares to come again, but they find that another person comes soon after the crowd has dispersed. Long Qingxia turns to look at them, and then he sees a man in black looking at them angrily with cold eyes. But this is not. Huoting looks at Mu Xiaoming's face and suddenly feels very familiar. Then he remembers that this man is Yunwu's friend, but before he finishes speaking, Mu Xiaoming rushes up directly. A long sword condenses from Mu Xiaoming's hand, and then mercilessly attacks the Dragon Qingxia 3 who are sitting in the front. The master of Flint Town? I'll see how tall you are. Mu Xiaoming said coldly that the sword in his hand became red, and the rich fire elements lingered on it. The light of the sword flickered. Under a heavy blow, he directly hit a deep mark on the ground. Long Qingxia's hand is holding the fire ting that can't dodge, and his eyes are looking at him coldly. If it wasn't for his and Xiao Jiao's quick action just now, I was afraid that Huoting would have died directly under the attack. Summoner? Small Nine, surprised looking at the man in front of him, how did not think that he actually saw two summoners in a short period of time, and it seems that the strength of this summoner is not weak, is also a emperor? Isn't he a friend of Miss Cloud Dance? Huoting looks at Mu Xiaoming in shock and feels that he can't think. What? Is he a friend of the master's? Small Nine direct exclamation voice. How possible? At this time, Mu Xiaoming didn't have the heart to deal with them at all. A blow made them hide to one side, and then rush to Yunwu. Stop him! Dragon Qing evil cold voice command way. Below block in front of Cloud Dance Flint Town members dare not neglect, have rushed to Wood Xiaoming. What the hell is going on? Fire Teng anxiously said, both sides are Miss Cloud Dance's friends, how to fight? Little guy's friend? Long Qingxia sneered, I think I want to use others to get the jade medal. Now I see that the little guy has got it, and I finally show my true face. As soon as the words came out, Xiao Jiao and Huoting suddenly clattered in their hearts. It seems that it's really possible. Whatever the reason, I'm the first one who wants to destroy the master's cultivation. After that, Small Nine directly rushed past, behind the huge nine tails spread out, force people's pressure mercilessly toward Wood Xiaoming rolling past. Mu Xiaoming wants to rush to Yunwu's side and clear away the people who are in front of him. But unexpectedly, there is a strong pressure behind him. It seems that the pressure comes from ancient times, which is very pressing. When Mu Xiaoming turned his head, he saw a man with 9 huge foxtails standing in the air, looking at himself coldly. The next moment, the figure a flash, accompanied by a faint thunder, even directly flashing in front of their own. There was a faint smell of thunder elements in the air. Mu Xiaoming was surprised, but the sword in his hand attacked him. No one took advantage of the collision. Mu Xiaoming's body quickly retreated. Unexpectedly, a white tail didn't know when it came around behind him and rolled directly to him. Mu Xiaoming quickly jumped out of the range of attack, but with such a jump, he was even farther away from the clouds. Warcraft. Mu Xiaoming looks at Xiao Jiao's coquettish face in surprise. His eyes are cold and enchanting. The pressure before is just emanating from her. Masuki Haramoto thought he was an expert, but after the fight he found that the strength of the other side was not much different from that of himself, which was also the realm of Emperor Wu. If he could summon Warcraft, he would soon be able to defeat her, but now he was alone, so it was hard to start. Mu Xiaoming frowned and looked at the cloud dancing behind her. I tell you, if you are smart, don't give up the idea of big jade card. Even if you get the jade card, you can't accept the inheritance. But small 9 see Mu Xiaoming's line of sight, can't help but eyes a sink, voice cold warning. When Mu Xiaoming saw that Hualinger was still standing there beside Yunwu, and at the same time he was surprised to see himself, he thought that his appearance was too sudden and shocked her. Moreover, it seemed that the people in Huoshi town didn't move because of Hualinger, so he was a little relieved. It seems that these people in Flint town are not bad to the core. Jade card? Well, do you really think I'm rare? Mu Xiaoming hummed coldly, no longer talking nonsense. With a long sword in his hand, he rushed to Xiaojiu again. The two figures are fighting in one place, and the situation is extremely fierce. At this time, there are two more figures in the square. They are Lin Yuntong and Hualin. Lord Fire Lin a shout, instantly Fire Teng's line of sight attracted in the past. Mu Xiaoming, what's going on? Why are you fighting? Lin Yuntong looked at the two entangled figures, rushed forward without saying a word, directly pulled Mu Xiaoming's collar and pulled him down. The battle came to an end. Another one? Long Qingxia looks at the woman who pulls Mu Xiaoming back and says coldly, "You let me go. I have to kill them." Mu Xiaoming struggles on Lin Yuntong's hand again, desperately wants to go forward. Mu Xiaoming, calm down. Lin Yuntong hands a force, a Wu Xiaoming thrown aside. If you don't find out the truth, you'll beat people up, and you won't be afraid of being rude to you when Yunwu wakes up? Mu Xiaoming just turned over from the ground and was ready to fight again. When he heard this, his action stopped immediately. But when he thought about the situation of Cloud Dance, his face became cold again. How can I know? Didn't you see them surround the little dance group? But they didn't draw their swords. Lin Yuntong said seriously. As soon as the words came out, it made Mu Xiaoming completely quiet. At this time, a white figure came directly in front of them. Mu Xiaoming raised his head and saw a pretty-looking man looking down at him. Two people seemed to have inexplicable resentment between the general. Look at each other. What are you looking at? Wu Xiaoming coldly asked, although Lin Yuntong's words have some truth, but before things are clear, he will remain vigilant. Long Qingxia raised his eyebrows, but his eyes were cold. Looking at Mu Xiaoming, he said, "Those who want to hurt her, especially those who betray her, will not come to a good end." Mu Xiaoming was stunned. He? Is that the Lord of Flint? But without waiting for him to think about the reason, Long Qingxia started directly. An épée appeared in his hand, and then he rushed directly to Mu Xiaoming. The speed was no worse than that of Mu Xiaoming in the realm of Emperor Wu. Get out of the way. Mu Xiaoming pushes Lin Yuntong out and rushes forward to fight with Long Qingxia. This is the first time that Long Qingxia has been fighting with an expert since he was promoted. Although Mu Xiaoming's strength is only Emperor Wu, he is much stronger than Xiaoxia before, and Long Qingxia doesn't pay attention to him, so he doesn't do his best at all. Under the competition between them, it looks like a tie on the surface, but if Yunwu is sober at this time, he can see it at a glance come out. Mu Xiaoming has fallen behind. Sister Yun, what should I do? Hualinger looks anxiously at the war situation outside, and really wants to rush out to ask clearly. But Long Qingxia told her before that she would never leave Yunwu, because this kind of large amount of power infused into the body is the most likely to cause problems. At that time, a pill is likely to save her life. Hualinger only dares to murmur in a low voice, but she doesn't dare to let Yunwu hear what she says. For fear that her anger will disturb her cultivation, she can only do it in a hurry. Yo, little sister, you seem to have a lot of skills. Can you bring him out directly? Mu Xiaoming is entangled by Dragon's evil spirit. Lin Yuntong wanted to persuade him to fight. An enchanting woman blocks him directly. The huge nine-tail is smaller, but it still looks majestic. Lin Yuntong frowned and said, "Little sister? Who is the little sister?" It's a joke. She has been married for a long time. Although she looks very young, she can't be called a little sister. What's more, this woman obviously looks down on her. Xiaojio chuckled, and his face was full of charm. She's a warcraft that existed in ancient times. It's polite to call Lin Yuntong little sister. If you really talk about her age, I'm afraid you can call her ancestor. But at this time, she was too lazy to worry about it. You see, they are all fighting and we can't do it, can't we? Since you're with him, I'll just clean you up. With that, the tail behind Xiaojio became bigger again, then spread out directly, and finally turned into a little white fox around him, totally 9 of which surrounded Lin Yuntong. Lin Yuntong's face instantly sank down, looking at small 9 said, I don't want to fight with you. It's not about whether you want to or not. It's you who pick up the first thing. You have to make a result before you can continue to talk about things, don't you? After that, small 9 enchanted smile, gently raised the right hand, palm light flashing, finally merged into a sword. Thunder is warcraft. Lin Yuntong has seen a lot of things. At a glance, she can see Xiaojio's real body, or the ancient beast. Are you the guardian beast of this tomb? I have a good eye. Small 9 said, just don't know your strength, let me try. Then, with an order, the 9 white foxes pounced on Lin Yuntong impolitely. Wait. Lin Yuntong suddenly thought of something and wanted to make it clear to Xiaojio, but his voice just came out, and before he could say the following words, Xiaojio's attack was in front of him. Xiaojio in the realm of Emperor Wu and Lin Yuntong in the peak of Emperor Wu have an insurmountable gap between them. Although Xiaojio didn't exert all his strength, Lin Yuntong had to resist with all his strength. He didn't even have time to speak. The explanation he just wanted to export was swallowed directly. On the other side, Huolin ran directly to Huoting's side, with a serious face and asked, Lord, what's the matter? How can you? Then he took his eyes and looked at the cloud dance behind them. I'd like to ask you what's the matter. Huoting frowned and said, aren't they friends with Miss Yunwu? Why do you shout, fight and kill as soon as you come? This. As soon as he heard Huoting's name for Yunwu, Huolin knew that they had misunderstood each other. If Huoshi town really turned over to Miss Yunwu, how could Huoting, as the city leader, be so polite? So Huolin immediately told some of them about meeting the Lord of Mu. The Lord of Mu City. It's disgusting, Huoting said fiercely. If you don't get the jade medal, you'll sow dissension. You want to use this move to make our nest chaotic. We are here to protect the Dharma for Miss Yunwu. How can we be the ones who want to win the jade medal? Lord. Until this time, Huolin finally understood that the 3 of them were taken by the Lord of Namu. Lord, what should we do now? They. On the square, Mu Xiaoming fought fiercely, but they all had a tacit understanding. They were far away from Yunwu and others. For fear of disturbing her cultivation, even Mu Xiaoming, who wanted to get close to her, rushed forward. In the duel between the experts, people below Wuzong can't intervene at all. Even if Huoting wants to get involved in the 2 battles, it's difficult, let alone someone else. No, they have to be stopped. Huoting said if someone is injured on both sides, that is not the consequence he can bear. At the moment, regardless of their own safety, they went forward and looked at the 2 wars. They went directly to Lin Yuntong's side and yelled at them, don't fight. It's all a misunderstanding. Everyone is for Miss Yunwu. Please stop for a while and listen to my explanation. Explain it. If you want to explain, just say it. I'm not interested in stopping to listen to you. Mu Xiaoming has been beaten by Long Qingxia. He has been holding his breath for a long time. At this time, Huoting just comes to the door, which makes him swear. Huoting's face turned blue and white for a while, but looking at the hot man, he weighed the speaker's strength and his own strength in his heart, swallowed the dissatisfaction, and said again, Young Xia, you are cheated by the city master. We are protecting the Dharma for Miss Yunwu. We don't mean to hurt her. Long Xiaoxia, little 9 girl, please stop. They are Miss Yunwu's friends. They mistakenly think that we are going to snatch the jade medal, so they are so desperate. He was worthy of being the leader of the city. After a few words, he told the story. As soon as the words were finished, the 4 people who were in full swing in the war stopped as if they had been splashed with cold water. Little guy's friend? Long Qingxia eyebrows picked, looking at the opposite which Xiaoming said, Protect her? Isn't it betrayal? Mu Xiaoming then understood what the words before Long Qingxie meant. It turned out that his betrayal meant that he betrayed Yunwu's feelings? You fart. When will I do something wrong to my friends? It's you. Little dance is well cultivated there, but you have to squat beside it. What's wrong with your heart? Mu Xiaoming has already believed Huoting's words in his heart. When he thinks about it carefully, there are many suspicious places along the way. However, as soon as he hears Long Qingxie calling Cloud dance so intimately, Mu Xiaoming is angry with himself, and then he replies impolitely. The little fellow must have someone to protect the Dharma when he is practicing. As her husband, shouldn't I be with her? Long Qingxie feels Mu Xiaoming's displeasure. He picks his eyebrows and says that his attitude is even more impolite. How dare this man covet the little guy? It's only been a long time since the separation. The little guy has new followers. It seems that he has to keep a close eye on people in the future. Long Qingxie's thoughts flashed in his heart, but his face was indifferent, as if he didn't see Mu Xiaoming at all. What did you say? My husband. Mu Xiaoming widened his eyes and said, How can it be? When did Xiao Wu get married? How can there be a husband? Why can't we have a husband? Didn't she say that? Long Qingxie was very proud, but his face was still light. It seems that I have to remind her after her cultivation. Since you are her friend, let's protect the Dharma for her. Having said that, Long Qingxie said nothing more and turned to Yunwu. Mu Xiaoming has just been the news of thunder outside Jiao inside tender. At this time to see the dragon evil self-confidence appearance, disdain to compete with himself, can't help thinking, is Xiao Wu really married? On the other hand, the battle between Lin Yuntong and Lin Yuntong also stopped. Since you are the host's friend, I won't embarrass you. You are not weak, and you seem to be very strange. If you have a chance in the future, I will fight you well. Xiao Jiao said with a smile, looking at Lin Yuntong as if looking at his prey. As soon as he lifted his jade hand and waved his hand gently, the released foxes were called back one after another and turned into 9 tails and disappeared behind Xiao Jiao. At this point, a farce is finally over, and Huolinger is finally relieved and sits down beside Yunwu. Hello, Lord, is that man really Xiao Wu's husband? Would Xiaoming does not give up the heart of drag to come back of Fire Teng? Quietly asked. Huoting was stunned and looked at Long Qingxie's figure. Then he thought about the two people's appearance when they were together. He nodded and said, Yes, he always calls himself husband in front of Miss Yunwu. Ah. Mu Xiaoming let out a disappointed voice, and then sat down dejected. Long Qingxie turned his back to them, and the corners of his mouth were slightly hooked up when they couldn't see him. The cold wind in the forest made them shiver, and the atmosphere became a little serious. Xiao Ran and Situ Lan were silent and sped forward quietly. After a day's galloping, they finally arrived at their destination. But before they entered the city, they saw a mass of red smoke rising in the city. Suddenly, Xiao Ran stamped his feet and shot forward. Hurry up! Sister Huanxiang is in danger. Situ Lan's heart sank and he hastened to speed up. When he arrived at Wenj Island, Situ Lan was stunned because he saw that there were soldiers who could not get up from the Magic Fragrance's residence, and the people around him were screaming and running away. From Magic Fragrance! Situ Lan is anxious in the heart, shout, draw out long sword to rush in. As soon as I entered the room, I saw Tsong Huanxiang fall to the ground, coughing violently. Beside me, a group of people were standing, all pointing at Tsong Huanxiang with weapons. What are you doing? Situ Lanchong went forward and waved away all the people around him. He rushed in and picked up Tsong Huanxiang. He reached out to hold her by the wrist. His heart sank. Sure enough, he was poisoned by Huanxiang. I'm afraid it won't last long. What's the matter? You have to deal with a girl like this? Situ Lan lifted up from the magic incense, put it on the stool, and said in a low voice, You sit here to breathe. Xiao Ran and I will deal with these people in front of you. Just about to leave, but See from magic incense suddenly stretched out his hand to seize Situ Lan's arm, gritted his teeth and gasped, extremely hard, but hoarse mouth, Situ Lan, you don't fight with them, it's not good for you at all, they just come to me. Hearing this, Situ Lan couldn't help frowning. He arranged the magic incense and said, "The grace of saving lives should be rewarded by Yongquan." Look up to Xiao Ran, but see Xiao Ran a pair of indifferent appearance, but a face vigilant looking at the elder Cheng in front of. Situ Lan sat up, but he didn't see the loss in the eyes of Huan Xiang. "You are treason." Situ Lan coldly looks at elder Cheng in front of him, and his words are full of anger. "Treason?" Old Cheng snorted coldly, and sat on the stool behind him, holding the water channel that the little maid poured for him. "I am rebellious. I've long thought that this woman is not agreeable to me. If she has no ability, she will become the leader of the island by virtue of her beauty. What kind of ability does she have? Now the people of Wengo Island are in dire straits. I think if we change the owner of the island as soon as possible, we will all live in peace." People in need? Situ Lan felt a little funny in his heart. This man was really lying with his eyes open. He held up his sword indifferently, and his whole body was suddenly wrapped by fighting spirit. Xiao Ran saw that Situ Lan was so wrapped by fighting spirit. In an instant, the air pressure of the whole room suddenly decreased. "I think that the realm of the two of us can wipe out your whole army. If you don't want to leave here in disgrace today, I advise you to leave now." Situ Lan tugs at the corner of his mouth and a smile appears. The people on the scene actually looked at each other, and their eyes showed uneasiness. Xiao Ran and Situ Lan are in the same realm. If they have to fight for each other today, they will not be able to gain any advantage. With this in mind, Cheng Chang hums coldly, raises his hand and asks the people behind him to put away his weapons, and says faintly, "It doesn't matter. We cannot kill the enchantress today, but we want the enchantress before tomorrow night in front of the whole island. Give me the position of the island's owner." Xiao Ran wanted to say something more, but Situ Lan stopped him and winked. Those people did not dare to act rashly. After watching them for a while, they waved their hands and left. See, the person in front of finally left, from magic incense finally vomit breath, suddenly fell from the chair. Scared, Xiao Ran rushes forward to pick up the magic fragrance and looks at Situ Lan. Situ Lan sighed, took back the sword and said, "Take the magic incense to the house." I didn't expect that Xiao Ran, who was always dissatisfied with Situ Lan, now nodded very cleverly and turned away from the magic fragrance. Surprised for a long time, Situ Lan had no choice but to smile bitterly. He turned his head and looked out of the window. He saw that outside the mansion, there were already wars and chaos, chickens flying and dogs jumping, and cries everywhere. Thinking of the prosperity when I just came to the island, I was disappointed and sighed. I followed Xiao Ran to the inner room. "Put her there." Situ Lan rode. Xiao Ran very obedient will from magic incense on the bed, and turned to see Situ Lan. In the heart is thinking about the next countermeasures, but heard the side from the magic fragrance light vomit a breath, turned to see, from the magic fragrance has opened his eyes, to Xiao Ran said, "You go out first, I have something to say with Situ Lan." Xiao Ran's face changed slightly, but he didn't say anything. He turned and left. Hearing the door close gently, he suddenly laughed from the magic incense, and sighed helplessly, "Up to now, it's a child's temper, alas." He coughed twice, turned his head to see Situ Lan, and said faintly, "Xiao Ran, a child, grew up under my protection all day long. When something happened, he didn't know what to do. At this time, he was at a loss." Situ Lan was dumbfounded, but changed the topic. "Why did Elder Cheng suddenly start at this time?" From then on, Huan Xiang suddenly gave a bitter smile, but he was very helpless. "He thought you were the rescuer I invited, but you suddenly disappeared. Just yesterday, another fleet of us at sea was suddenly attacked by pirates and suffered heavy losses. Mr. Cheng may think this is the best time, so," said, finally vomited a tone. "Fortunately Xiao Ran found you in time, otherwise you may come back to see our bodies." Situ Lan bowed his head, thought for a long time, and finally said, "Now, I can only go to meet Elder Cheng and threaten him to take out the antidote." He bowed his head for a moment and sighed again. "Don't worry. I have a way with this poison." From the magic incense smile, obviously a clear look, "But I feel that after tomorrow, we will have no peace." Situ Lan saw from the magic incense said so, also vomited a tone. These days I come to protect your safety. He stood up and walked out. You can take good care of yourself. If you need anything, please call me at any time. He nodded from the magic incense and watched Situ Lan leave with a smile. Back to the residence arranged for him by Huanxiang, Situ Lan immediately sat cross-knee and carried out his work to adjust his breath. All these experiences in the forest left him with many scars. Now he finally had time to adjust his breath and recuperate. However, Wenj Island experienced such a catastrophe again, which made Situ Lan feel very heavy in his heart. After inspecting his body, Situ Lan found that he was full of fighting spirit and seemed to have some improvement. It seemed that breaking through the realm was just around the corner. However, he suddenly remembered that Elder Cheng said that he would negotiate with several people the next day, frowned slightly, and continued to sit cross-knee and concentrate on cultivation. If he broke through the realm in these days, it might be helpful for him to recapture Wenj Island from magic incense. It's very useful. But before long, I heard a sudden knock on the door. Situ Lan quickly opened his eyes and ran to open the door. There's something wrong with Sister Huanxiang. Xiao Ran stood outside Situ Lan's door, looking anxious. What's the matter? Situ Lanxin mentions his voice and rushes out of the room without saying a word. Xiao Ran follows behind him and runs into the room of Huaxiang. Seeing Song Huanxiang lying on the bed, his face was pale, his lips were bloody, and he seemed to be in a coma. This made Situ Lan very nervous. He went forward to hold Song Huanxiang's hand and examined it carefully. His face changed greatly. I didn't expect that this poison was developing so fast. He bowed his head and thought for a moment, then turned to push the door. Where you going, young Xia? Xiao Ran suddenly stopped Situ Lan behind him and said anxiously, I think Sister Huanxiang is going to die now. Of course, I'm going to find that Elder Cheng for the antidote. So he went on. This poison of hers can persist till tomorrow. I'm with you. Xiao Ran frowned, pursed his pretty lips, took out his weapon, and went to Situ Lan. But Situ Lan shook his head and stopped him. Now you should stay by the side of Huanxiang to protect her, because if she is attacked, she will die. Xiao Ran Lung suddenly seemed to understand something, nodded, turned back to the room from the magic incense, shut the door. Night soon fell. Situ Lan looked at the mansion in front of him and frowned. The crowd that used to be bustling on the street is now empty, leaving only a piece of garbage and countless bleak leaves flying with the wind. When he looked around, it seemed that there was no one. He flew up and jumped into the mansion in front of him. In Elder Cheng's mansion, there is a lot of noise and lights. Countless guards inspect it. Situ Lan lowers his body and stares at the house in front of him. It's not hard to see that the biggest room in the center must be Elder Cheng's bedroom, and now there are countless people in it, coming and going, very busy. Situ Lan avoided the guard and jumped towards the house, lying under the window, listening quietly. I said, Elder Cheng, is this really okay? I don't think that poison has any effect on Song Huanxiang. In this way, Song Huanxiang will be more cautious about us. After all, she is the leader of the island, and her power is much stronger than ours. Having said that, our power is not weak either. I'm afraid we can frustrate her a lot if we add several elders together. She won't give us the island tomorrow. We have to have a strategy. Don't worry. I have the antidote for the poison in her body. If she doesn't agree tomorrow, I will throw the antidote into the sea. Within 2 days, she will fester and die. On hearing this, Situ Lan's eyes suddenly turned red, and his anger suddenly rose up. He kicked open the window and rushed in. There was a howl all over the room. Before he could resist, Situ Lan had already controlled Elder Cheng. He put his sword on Elder Cheng's neck and gritted his teeth. Where is the antidote? All of a sudden, all the people who haven't reacted just now take out their weapons and point at Situ Lan. But Situ Lan was not afraid at all. He put his sword against Elder Cheng's neck. Blood was flowing down his sword. Cheng Chang was in a panic and cried out, Don't move, don't move. Put down your weapons at this time. The door was suddenly knocked open, and in an instant, countless bodyguards swarmed in. The swords were facing each other, and countless people surrounded Situ Lan. But Situ Lan was not afraid. He held Elder Cheng in his hands, bowed his head and said in Elder Cheng's ear, "Where is the antidote? Or I'll kill you tonight." "Yes, in the cupboard over there." Elder Cheng was scared and quickly pointed to the opposite cabinet. Situ Lan slightly hooked the corner of his mouth, took Elder Cheng to the cupboard, pointed to the cupboard and said, "Give it to me." Elder Cheng shouts in a hurry, goes forward, takes out a small porcelain vase and hands it to Situ Lan. "Don't worry, the antidote of this small porcelain vase will never have any problem." With that he laughed twice. Carefully scrutinizing the small porcelain bottle in hand, he opened it and looked at the 2 pills in the bottle, doubting. "I'll see if you have one first." Situ Lan picks eyebrows and looks at Elder Cheng's pale face. "Otherwise, how can I believe what you said?" Cheng Elder immediately cold sweat Sinsen, scratch to scratch ahead, took the Dan medicine in Situ Lan's hand. "This pill is very valuable. You say I have no problem. How can I waste it so much?" Before Elder Cheng finished, he was interrupted by Situ Lan and said, "You give me some to eat first. Otherwise, I'm afraid your life will be wasted." Elder Cheng took a deep breath and looked left and right. Then he finally poured out a pill and put it in his hand. He pretended to put it in his mouth. But suddenly, Elder Cheng threw the pill in his hand at Situ Lan's face. In an instant, all the people around rushed up and separated Situ Lan from Elder Cheng. At this time, there were so many people that Situ Lan had no way to play. He had to watch the people around him take Elder Cheng away. In an instant, a large group of soldiers rushed in to surround Situ Lan and fight each other. Situ Lan couldn't help laughing. Looking at the group of soldiers in front of him, he suddenly sighed, "I don't want to fight the innocent. Today, I just want to get back the antidote. I don't have any other plans. So I think you'd better go back. Otherwise, I think it's a very helpless thing to fight. What do you say?" The soldiers in front of him felt that Situ Lan was very powerful. At this time, when he heard what Situ Lan said, he had already backed out. He turned his head and looked at Elder Cheng, who was protected by the soldiers. But Elder Cheng was cold and said in a loud voice, "Who killed this man today? I'll give you 30 taels of gold." As soon as I heard of gold, everyone became interested and turned around with high morale. Seeing this, Situ Lan just sighed and shook his head. He suddenly took the sword in his hand and rushed to a soldier in front of him. The person in front of has not yet reacted to come over, has already been beaten on the stomach by Situ Lan's fist, instantly scream, have already fallen on the ground to roll. Originally not big room, the moment is narrow as if nothing can be installed. Surrounded by a lot of soldiers, but Situ Lan didn't look at them at all. He turned to Elder Cheng and said indifferently, "You give me the antidote, and I'll leave immediately. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Your soldiers are not my opponents." What Situ Lan said doesn't make sense. In fact, Cheng Changlau's face is pale and dignified. Of course, he knows that the strength of the man in front of him is unfathomable. The invisible pressure makes everyone around him turn pale. He bowed his head and pondered for a while, then suddenly sneered, "But if I tell you that there is no antidote for this poison, what should you do?" In Situ Lan's eyes, he was furious. Regardless of the sword in front of him, he went straight to Elder Cheng's direction. "It seems that I was too kind to you just now." With that, he knocked all the soldiers down on the ground and clawed them toward Elder Cheng's neck. Elder Cheng was scared. He didn't have time to react at such a fast speed. He had been pressed on the wall by Situ Lan and couldn't breathe at all. His face turned red instantly. It seems that Situ Lan is really angry. He grabs Elder Cheng's neck and makes his face blue. His feet are struggling on the wall, but there is no way to get rid of him. "Tell me where the antidote is?" Situ Lan's eyes seem to be bursting with fire. Elder Cheng points to his neck in a hurry. His face turns red. He can't breathe at all. His eyes turn around and he's about to breathe. Situ Lan raises his mouth and puts Elder Cheng on the ground. Elder Cheng sat down on the ground, coughing violently, panting hard, as if the wine was about to pass. Situ Lan sat down and looked at Elder Cheng on the ground. He didn't see how many people were around him. "I'll give it to you." Elder Cheng gasped and coughed twice. He trembled and walked to the cupboard, opened the door, took out a small porcelain vase from the innermost lattice, and handed it to Situlan. This is the antidote. It's definitely not wrong. The poison I gave her is a chronic poison. It's nothing to insist on for half a month. Nevertheless, it's very easy to fry everyday boil. Take this antidote, not half a column of incense time, we'll see obvious improvement, said, looking up at Situlan, full of sincerity. Situlan snorted coldly, took the antidote in his hand, and said, if there's something wrong with eating this from the magic incense, then I'll take your life and bury it with her. Then he took the elder with one hand and said, follow me. So without waiting for Elder Chung to react, he has already picked him up and walked out. Suddenly, behind a burst of noise. Take Elder Chung out of the room and walk towards the residence of Magic Fragrance. All the way, Mr. Chung faltered and couldn't keep up with Situlan's steps. But Situlan didn't care at all. He kept walking forward, but he didn't see the evil and indifferent smile on the corner of his mouth. Push the door into the room from the Magic Fragrance. From the magic incense is still dying lying in bed. Breathing has become shallow. As soon as Situlan throws Elder Chung to the ground, Xiao Ran immediately pulls out the sword and puts it on Elder Cheng's neck, he says. Situlan will help from the magic incense, the pill into his mouth, a fight into the air, the moment the pill into a warm current, into the throat from the magic incense. Not long after that, he suddenly breathed a breath from the magic incense, and then opened his eyes. Situlan looked at it and finally vomited. He turned to Elder Cheng and said coldly, I'm afraid you still have a little conscience. Cheng Chang lowered his head and said nothing. He closed his eyes as if he was going to sleep. Xiao Ran, find 2 people to take care of Elder Cheng, and let him go back early tomorrow morning. He turned his head to see Tsong Huanxiang, who was sleeping on the bed, and said with a sneer, who knows if this man has any conspiracy? I'm afraid that there will be something wrong with this medicine before tomorrow morning. Seeing from the face of the magic fragrance become ruddy, Xiao Ran's eyes are out of the light. Although still a cold face appearance, but the corner of the mouth has already faintly raised a smile, nodded, will Cheng Elder lift to walk toward the outside. Situlan finally vomited a breath, sat for a while from the magic fragrance side, got up to walk toward own room. There is always an ominous premonition in his heart. Situlan feels that he should improve his state quickly, otherwise, it will be difficult to deal with the next things. So he closed his eyes and sat on the bed. In the morning of the second day, Situlan opened his eyes and felt clear and comfortable. When he inspected his body, he found that his fighting spirit was more overflowing and seemed to be about to break through, but he always kept at such a level and made no progress at all. This distressed him so much that he sighed, got up and walked out of the room. Outside the gate, there was a sudden noise, which made Situlan stop and look at the door. I saw a large number of soldiers at the door, which seemed to be Elder Cheng's private army. At this time, they had surrounded the mansion of magic incense, but there were still a lot of people. At this time, they were all outside shouting, let Elder Cheng go. There was an ominous premonition in his heart, which made Situlan frown tightly and walk towards the room of magic fragrance. But see, Xiaoran has come out of his own room, eyes seem to be very anxious. We hit the trick. Situlan's heart sank and he didn't speak. He just hooked up with Xiao Ran's shoulder, pulled him into the room of Huaxiang, closed the door of the room and said, is it a trick that Elder Cheng asked me to catch him yesterday, just gave them a proper reason to find trouble with Huaxiang? With this thought, Situlan couldn't help thinking. Yes, he was too worried last night, so that he ignored the key problem. That's why he could walk out of Elder Cheng's house so easily. It should be a bloody fight. He sighed helplessly, patted his forehead, turned his head and looked out at the noisy crowd. Suddenly, his head was big. Let's let Elder Cheng go now. Otherwise, I'm afraid things will get more and more serious. Xiao Ran seems very nervous. But Song Huanxiang and Situlan shook their heads together, and they didn't agree with him. In fact, what they need is a reason. No matter what you do now, it will become their handle. Situlan Rai smile. It seems that today's war is inevitable. She turned her head and looked at Song Huanxiang. She was sitting on the bed with her hair falling down. She looked weak and beautiful. She followed her hair and said with a smile, "It's okay. Anyway, we have to fight with him sooner or later. If you are here now, we may have a better chance of winning." Sidulan, some complex looking at from the magic incense, don't know what to say. Xiao Ran, help me up. From the magic incense way, today we take this Elder Cheng as a chip to negotiate. Xiao Ran obediently walked to from fantasy side, will help her from the bed, help her put on clothes, silent. From the magic incense let Xiao Ran help himself to tie up his hair, turn to Sidulan smile, you don't have to be sad, anyway, such a thing, every country or tribe is inevitable. Turning around he took out a small bottle from the cupboard beside his bed, handed it to Sidulan and said, "Here is the pill for cultivation, which can help you improve your state quickly. You might as well try this one. It may not help you much, but I can only help you so much." Sidulan was stunned to see from Huanxiang. After a long time, he suddenly pushed back with a bitter smile, "No, I'd better leave this precious thing to you. Now is the time of weakness. I think it's just right for you. Take it." He pushed back from the magic incense and said, "Now you are also helping me. If this little power can help you break through, it will also help me, don't you think?" In this way, Sidulan could not refuse, so he had to thank him for taking the pills, stood up and walked towards the door. "I'll go outside to have a look." So he pushed the door and went out. As soon as I got to the door, I saw the guard standing in front of the door in distress, motioning to the guard to open the door. I saw Elder Li and Elder Zhao standing in front of me, with countless people behind me, looking at Sidulan in front of me. This is the man. It was this man who took Elder Cheng away yesterday. Someone suddenly shouts at the side. Sidulan hasn't said anything. The people below suddenly get excited. As soon as I got to the door, I saw the guard standing in front of the door in distress, motioning to the guard to open the door. I saw Elder Li and Elder Zhao standing in front of me, with countless people behind me, looking at Sidulan in front of me. This is the man. It was this man who took Elder Cheng away yesterday. Someone suddenly shouts at the side. Sidulan hasn't said anything. The people below suddenly get excited. A large group of people are about to rush up and peel Sidulan alive. Sidulan turned his head and looked behind him. With the help of Xiao Ran, he came out of the room and stood beside him. Suddenly, those people under the stairs did not speak. Although these people are the private soldiers of these elders, the authority of magic incense still exists. Ladies and gentlemen, from the magic incense to the door, without leaving a trace, he reached out and grabbed Sidulan's clothes, forced himself to stand in front of these people, cold sweat, but as always, today, I think we can make an exchange with Elder Cheng? Words immediately let the people under the steps have no voice, looking at from magic incense silent. Cheng Chang is always in our hands, but I won't catch any elder without any reason. Anyway, you are all the people who helped my father. From Huanxiang, he gasped, his face was a little pale, and his hand holding Sidulan's clothes was more and more tight, but his face was calm. If you have to fight me, I'm afraid I won't be kind to you anymore. Then he turned and walked towards the house. Please, everyone. The island leader will not send me away. If I didn't think that the people would suffer from the war, I'm afraid I would not have been soft-hearted. So, please take care of yourself. Say, pull Sidulan and Xiao Ran, turn round to walk into the room, bang of shut the door. Suddenly, there was silence outside, and there was no more noise. Before he got to the room, he had already sat down on the ground with his legs softened and his clothes soaked in cold sweat. Although the poison is relieved, the side effects will take some time. Now, it's still too reluctantly. He looked up at Sidulan and said with a bitter smile. Sidulan pursed her mouth, frowned and watched from the magic fragrance for a long time. Finally, she turned her head and said to Xiao Ran, "You can carry from the magic fragrance to the house." With that, he walked straight to his room without saying another word. From Huanxiang's eyes, staring at Sidulan's leaving direction without blinking, tears in his eyes, I don't know what he is thinking. Back in his room, Sidulan immediately sat down with his knees crossed, ate the pills and began to concentrate on cultivation. At night, the whole island is still and noisy. We may feel that the atmosphere of the whole island is not right, but the people are still happy. There was a sudden roar in the sky, and suddenly thunder and dark clouds rolled over the whole island of Wingo. The people of Wingo Island look at the sky strangely. The sky is like the lightning of a giant dragon flying through the dark clouds. The thunder cloud, however, slowly gathered in the sky above the magic incense mansion. Suddenly, a gust of wind made the soldiers surrounded by the outside look pale, pointing to the thunder cloud in the sky and talking about it. It seems that Situ Lan is going to be robbed? From the magic incense suddenly stand up, rush to the window, looking at the black clouds outside the window, eyes suddenly full of hope. Thunder clouds were shining silver under the black sky, splitting the night sky. Someone's going to rob. The soldiers standing outside kept shouting, pointing to the night sky, and their tone was full of excitement. But the elders could not help frowning and looking at the growing thunder clouds in the sky. Their expressions became more and more serious. Situlan sat in the room, frowning, very serious, did not expect, eat this pill, unexpectedly once will enhance the strength up, attracted thunder robbery. I didn't expect that in a short time, the thunder clouds rolled, and the first thunder had been thundering down. Suddenly, the roof of the room was pierced into a big hole, which made Situlan's chi and blood surge, and the fighting spirit suddenly enveloped his whole body, but he still spewed out a big mouthful of blood. From the magic fragrant heart a tight, almost didn't want to rush out of the room. Only heard outside the mansion, do not know who ordered, attack in. Then the door was smashed open. Countless soldiers rushed out and ran to the mansion of magic incense, shouting to hand over Elder Cheng. With a loud bang, the whole night sky seemed to be torn. The thunder hit the house again, and suddenly the whole courtyard was bright. Everyone was stunned and looked at the sky. Suddenly, I didn't know who it was. I yelled, "Go and attack the man who robbed me." He's at his weakest now, so countless soldiers around suddenly turned around and rushed to Situlan's room. Situlan, who was concentrating on the robbery, started to smile and spit out a mouthful of blood. He suddenly drew out his sword and held it high to the night sky. There was another loud noise. A sky thunder split the roof of the house and attacked toward Situlan. But Situlan didn't hide at all. He let the sky thunder, like a giant dragon, entangle his sword and extend downward. A group of people suddenly broke into the door and ran toward Situlan, shouting, but the man who took the lead was suddenly stunned. His face turned pale and he stepped back 2 steps. Even his voice changed, "Go away. Everybody, get out of here after a word. The whole team has fallen into chaos. The people behind have no time to react. The people in front have retreated, so after a while of chaos, everyone is in a mess." Situlan looked at the scene, laughed, spat out a mouthful of blood, endured the pain of being struck by lightning, and stabbed the sword with thunder towards a group of people. Sure enough, there was a flash of light, and 3 thunders split down in an instant. They gathered together on Situlan's sword and hit the crowd in front of him. There was a loud roar and a sudden howl. As soon as the smoke passed, there were countless people lying on the ground, dying and groaning. The soldiers outside were terrified, retreated, and no one dared to step forward. The whole mansion has been broken through a big hole, and half of the houses have collapsed, which makes everyone see the scene in the house. Situlan holds his sword high, and the whole sword body is wrapped by lightning. The powerful aura makes countless people around him change color. "I don't think we can save Ching Chong today." Elder Li said to Elder Zhao that he turned around and left in a hurry, but he was held by Elder Zhao's arm. "That's not good. It's agreed that today we will destroy the magic incense together. Don't you see that now? Where do we have a chance to attack them?" The words haven't finished. In front of Situlan, hand carrying long sword, toward Li Zhao 2 people gallop but go, mercilessly stab past. All of a sudden, Li and Zhao felt a flash of golden light in front of them. Before they could avoid it, they screamed out and were struck by lightning. When they landed, their faces were covered with blood and they were about to die. Situlan looked at the sky and gave a wry smile. He saw that the thunderclouds in the sky became smaller and disappeared gradually, but the sky was covered with dark clouds. Then, it began to rain. Situ Lan Chong breathed a breath and looked forward. He saw that he ran out of the house beside him and came to him anxiously, but he couldn't hear what he said from Huan Xiang. Then the world began to shake violently, and then nothing could be seen. When he opened his eyes again, the pain almost spread all over his body, and he couldn't help humming. There was a rush of footsteps around him, followed by the sound of opening the door and shouting, "Young Xia Sidu, wake up!" He's awake after a while. The figure of Hua Xiang appeared beside Situ Lan. With tears in her eyes, she reached out to hold Situ Lan's hand. "You're awake. I'm scared to death." Some uncomfortable, Situ Lan does not leave a trace of his hand from the hands of magic incense out, sat up. "I sleep for a long time?" "That's natural. You've been sleeping for 3 days. Our island owner hasn't had much rest these 3 days and has been taking care of you," said the little maid. Suddenly let Situ Lan very guilty, looking at from the magic fragrance his green-black eyes, some moved in the heart. "I have nothing to do." He turned to look out of the window, but there was a moment of silence outside the window and asked Song Huan Xiang around him, "Has everything been settled?" From the magic incense quickly nodded and laughed. "Solved. Elder Zhao and Elder Li have been killed by Tianlei. Elder Cheng is no longer in good shape. I've demobilized their private troops and re-interrogated and examined the elder. All the elders with different intentions have been demobilized." Hearing this, Situ Lan finally breathed out and laughed. "That's really great." The rebellion, which had been strangled in the cradle before it started, ended in failure because of Situ Lan's robbery. Wengo Island was full of praise, and many people began to praise the rare battle. Situ Lan and Song Huanxiang sat in the tavern, drinking wine, listening to the storyteller around them, who wrote the whole mythical battle into a story and told it in the tavern, but they had no choice but to smile. These people are really exaggerating. We don't have people like you here. It's amazing to see such a scene. From the magic Xiang side, smile gently, did not just meet the kind of enchantment, but revealed a touch of tenderness and sweetness. "It's time I went to my friend," Situ Lan said, picking up the glass and sipping it lightly, with a slight reluctant tone. "Little brother Shaoran really likes you. I don't think you should turn away this intention." Hearing this sentence, the whole person from Huanxiang was stunned. For a long time, he suddenly burst out with a laugh. "You are still there. It's true. I can see the child's feelings for me." After a pause, he sighed. "But he will find a better woman than me. To him, I am just a confidant who is also a teacher and a friend." The setting sun gives the whole island a layer of orange. In the evening, the whole island is salty and wet by the sea breeze. "When are you going to leave?" From Huan Xiang to see Situ Lan in a daze. Situ Lan just reflected this and turned to Song Huan Xiang. "By the way, I suddenly want to consult the owner of Tsong Island about something." Hearing the title of the island leader, Song Huan Xiang couldn't laugh or cry. She nodded in a hurry. "Just tell me straight. You have helped me so much. I will try my best to help you if I can help you." After a quiet thought, Situ Lan said slowly, "My friends and I were attacked when we used the teleport array in the border of Mudu. We were scattered all over the world. Now I need to go back to them." Looking at the serious eyes from the magic incense, Situ Lan lowered his head again. "I want to ask, is there a transmission array that can be used by me?" Hearing the 3 words of the teleportation array, he was dumbfounded and broke into laughter. He held his forehead and sighed. "Why didn't you say you need teleportation array earlier? Otherwise, I would have left long ago. Why wait until so many things have happened here?" Standing up, smiling at Situ Lan, he walked out of the tavern. "Let's go, I'll take you." Situ Lan Lung did not respond, but feel his hand was caught from the magic incense, toward the pub. "If you leave here, can you still remember me?" From Huan Xiang, he didn't turn his head, but Situ Lan saw something glittering and translucent and fell to the ground. It has been more than half a day since the tomb of the ancient summoner was opened. Some people who searched for many treasures felt that they could no longer snatch other treasures, so they searched for the exit and left the tomb. However, when they left, they found that all the treasures in their personal space disappeared, and they all suspected that the previous tomb experience was just a dream. What's the matter? It's clearly in the space. The leader of a small team looked at the things in his space bracelet and said with a puzzled look on his face, "This is a temporary team. When this happens, everyone thinks it's the captain's embezzlement. How can it be? Do you have any other space? We're moving things while we're not paying attention?" The captain has to look at all the places on his body, but he still has nothing. Immediately after that, there were other teams around, which also had a similar situation. What's the matter? It's clear that we're separate. Why is it all gone? Another team leader also anxiously said. One team after another had this problem. Finally, the first team leader gritted his teeth and said, "There must be something wrong with this grave. Let's go in again while we still have time." Maybe there are too many teams with problems, so people also have doubts in their hearts. They all nodded and agreed with the captain. A small group of people rushed into the tomb again. Afraid that the time of closing the tomb is coming, they missed a chance to get rich. And in the location of the central square of the tomb, Xiaojio sensed that someone had entered the tomb again. He couldn't help but hook his mouth and said sarcastically, "It seems that someone has found something wrong." People around her looked at her suspiciously, but Xiaojio just laughed and closed her eyes. Like Xiaojio, Yunwu, who has absorbed part of her strength, can feel that there seems to be an inexplicable connection between herself and the tomb. The map of the tomb looms in her mind. However, whenever Yunwu wants to go to a detailed inspection of a certain place, it always becomes blurred. It seems that we haven't absorbed enough. Cloud Dance thought in the heart. Now she has absorbed it for more than an hour. If it is used as a pill, even the power of high-level pill should be absorbed almost, but the power transmitted by Jade Brand is still endless. Cloud Dance heart rate move once again accelerated the speed of their absorption. Huge energy is constantly infused into Cloud Dance's body, and the force of elements becomes more and more abundant. Even the fighting spirit in the body becomes more and more. Before long, Yunwu suddenly felt that the power he absorbed was blocked. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't improve a little, and the original realm of rising water and rising ship also stopped. Cloud Dance knows that it has encountered the first bottleneck. Originally, it was just the strength of Emperor Wu in the early stage. At this time, if we can make a breakthrough, we can directly reach the middle stage of Emperor Wu, and it is less than 2 hours before she absorbs strength. It's going to break through. Dragon Qing Evil has been closed eyes suddenly opened, looking at the cloud figure, eyes full of thick doting. This voice's not loud words attracted many people's attention, so people have to look at the past, full of expectations. The Cloud Dance in the cultivation doesn't know all this. Although the realm can't be further improved, the Cloud Dance is still absorbing power. Those forces are circling in the body, moistening every inch of the body. After Yunwu has tempered all the muscles, all the forces are gathered together. The bottleneck is near, but Yunwu doesn't break through it by force. She knows that she has absorbed too much power this time. Only when she has accumulated enough power can she use these forces to make a natural breakthrough, which is the best way to improve her strength. If you break through the bottleneck rashly, it will inevitably make your strength become fragile after promotion. With the accumulation of strength, Yunwu is not worried at all. Finally, after a long time, the power finally accumulated to a certain extent. In the quiet environment, it seemed that there was a bow sound as if some estrangement had been suddenly broken, and people around felt as if their heart had trembled with this slight sound, and they were afraid to stare at the clouds. Bottleneck break it for me. Cloud Dance cold drink in the heart, that has accumulated for a long time the strength of a drum, that for many people may not be able to break through the bottleneck in a lifetime, in front of that huge force instantly become fragile. After a slight boo, it's broken. Originally accumulated to the extreme of the power of the moment, like a flood opened the valve in general, roaring into a new realm. The middle period of Emperor Wu. The middle period of Emperor Wu. Huiting said in shock. This sound immediately shocked the people of Flint Town sitting around. In a short period of time, Cloud Dance was directly promoted to a higher level, and it was still the realm of Emperor Wu. Huoting was a little lost, thinking about why he didn't have such good luck. But when I think about it, I don't have that kind of talent at all. Even if I get the jade medal, I may not be able to enter the realm of Emperor Wu. What's more, Huoshi Town has a friend from the middle of Emperor Wu from now on. As the city leader, this is a great good thing. Sister Yun is so powerful. Huolinger's eyes twinkled like little stars. He looked at Yunwu admiringly and said, I don't know when Sister Yun will wake up. It's early. Dragon Qing Evil Light said, just up a level, ancient summoner inheritance, cannot be so simple. As soon as the words came out, people just felt more expectant and looked at Yunwu with more fiery eyes. But in the practice of cloud dance, I don't know how the people around me react. Cloud dance only feel that his body from the previous moment of full moment become incomparably empty, faster than before. I do not know how many times faster, more ferocious absorption of the huge power of the jade. It seems to feel the increase of suction in Yunwu's body, and the jade brand is not to be outdone. More and more power and speed are instilled into Yunwu's body. His body is like a person who has been marching in the desert for a long time and needs to drink water urgently. He is absorbing those forces uncontrollably. Little by little, it's time for the grave to close. The grave is going to be closed. Are we? Huoting reckoned the time. In fact, from just now on, he always wanted to remind everyone that everyone was so fascinated by Yunwu's promotion that no one was willing to leave. Until this time, if he didn't start to find the exit, he was afraid that he would stay here forever. What's the hurry? Small Nine Light said, as long as the master became the master of the tomb, you are still afraid of their own out of it? Fire Tengaleng, this just remember oneself really something too much. Just. Small Nine voice a turn, continue to say. Just what? Huoting asked suspiciously. Even if you can accept the inheritance, whether the host's body can withstand such a huge force is also a very important question for you. If you can't bear it. Later, Xiaojio didn't continue to talk, just as if to say to himself, she even passed 3 tests, just inheritance, should be able to bear it. Huoting was surprised. It seems that this matter is not absolute. Miss Cloud Dance has broken through again. There was a cry of surprise. There is a sharp-eyed person who has found the changes of Cloud Dance all over his body, which is much faster in the beginning, and the speed of absorption is speeded up again in an instant. And because he is closer to the cloud dance, so at this time is more clearly feel the cloud dance body to upload the pressure than before more frightening. The late period of Emperor Wu. Would Xiuming shocked said, originally their strength is almost the same, but now cloud dance even promoted 2 levels, he really can't catch up. All kinds of thoughts flashed in Mu Xiuming's mind for a moment. He was not only happy for the improvement of cloud dance's strength, but also lost for the distance between himself and her. Oh my god, it's the late period of Emperor Wu. The realm of Emperor Wu can even be upgraded 2 levels in a short day. It's amazing. Miss Yunwu didn't even wake up. Will she continue to upgrade? The sound of discussion rang out one after another, and Huoting's just shaken mind was pressed down by this curiosity. Then calculate the time. The tomb opened a total of 12 hours, that is, a whole day, and now there are about 2 hours to close. If you find the exit faster, you should have 1 hour. Let's wait another hour. Huoting thought, so he sat down again. He is the head of a city, no matter what time to take his own town as the main, even if cloud dance for him is worth making friends. But compared with the town, he can't stay here all the time. A large part of this tomb is the elite of Flint Town. If Yunwu fails to accept the inheritance, they will stay here forever. Even if it's only 1 in 10,000, he can't let himself gamble on it. Up to now, Cloud Dance has completely fallen into the cultivation. It doesn't know what's going on outside. It only knows that with a little improvement of its strength, its body absorbs power faster and faster, but what's faster is the speed of instilling power into its body. It seems that the improvement of his strength is a kind of provocation for him, or to show his huge strength. The power in the Jade brand is like wrapping all the cloud dance together. Yunwu only felt that it was hard for her to absorb power, Not that she could not absorb power, but the power is too abundant, and the speed of absorption can't keep up with it. If you are drunk with oxygen, under such a high concentration of power, Yunwu feels that it may be oppressed by this power at any time. No wonder the master said that the inheritance was not so easy to accept. That's the reason. Cloud Dance thought in the heart. In my mind, I think of what Mr. Chin said before he disappeared. If I feel that I can't accept inheritance, I'd rather not inherit it than give it up, otherwise I will be destroyed. The spirit and the form are destroyed? Cloud Dance sneers in my heart. I don't believe it. It's just a small inheritance. How can it be difficult for me? Think about it. Cloud Dance heart read a move. The body's strength once again accelerated the speed of the circumflex. With the increase of that speed, the speed of absorbing power of your body is faster and faster, and the gap between the speed instilled in the jade brand is smaller and smaller. Just when the speed of Cloud Dance is about to catch up, as long as it is faster, the strength between the bodies will be balanced again. Clinker, the jade brand seems to be provoked, and the speed will soar again. More than ever before, the majestic power directly poured into the body of Yunwu. Just for a moment, Yunwu felt as if his body was going to be burst by the force. There were green tendons on the skin, and the blood vessels under the skin became red. What's the matter? Mu Xiaoming stands up in an instant. Seeing that Yunwu has nothing to do, he thinks the inheritance is very simple. But I didn't expect that soon after entering the peak of Emperor Wu, the speed of that power was faster than once, and finally it was almost invisible to the naked eye. At this time, Yunwu immediately became extremely painful. Mu Xiaoming's voice awakened all the people waiting. It was 2 hours since the last breakthrough, and their waiting was a little tired, but they didn't expect to change at this time. Huading and others also, Shua, stand up from the ground and frown one after another. As expected, they see that the situation of Cloud Dance is very bad. Mu Xiaoming hurried forward, and he almost arrived at the same time as the figure of the dragon. Sister Yun suddenly became like this. What's the matter? Hualinger said anxiously. Although she had pills on her body and knew when each pill was used, she didn't know what was the situation of Yunwu now, so no matter how anxious she was, she didn't care if she was given any pills. Let me see. Mu Xiaoming said and went forward directly. He grasped Yunwu's wrist and put his sleeve finger on her pulse. Long Qingxia stares at the fingers on Yunwu's wrist and tries to resist the impulse to peel him off. He is also very anxious. At this time, I began to think, why don't I know medicine? After Mu Xiaoming felt his pulse, he spoke very fast, but he enunciated clearly and said, it's because the strength is too huge. Xiaowu's body can't keep up with the speed of absorption. Now her body is in a mess. This words, a fire spirit son immediately understand oneself should do what, hurriedly took out a pill from the space of carry-on. As soon as the pill appeared, the whole square was filled with danxiang. At a glance, we knew it was a high-quality pill. Then it was put into Yunwu's mouth. This Linga, how can you have this elixir? One side of the fire Lin, a face shocked looking at fire spirit son. How many pills Hualinger has? As Hualinger's tutor, he knows how many pills he has. However, even the whole Huasher town may not be able to take out such a good pill, let alone her. When I was in the Xuanzi ear room, Sister Yun found it and gave it to me. Fire spirit son head also don't return of say, eyes still tightly stare at Cloud Dance, eyes are full of worry. Once again, the people in Flint were shocked. Today, they are really stimulated too much. Now they know that Yunwu is able to give such pills to others. It can be seen that she is a worthy friend. But now, people's minds are all on the safety of Yunwu. The pill was melted at the entrance. As soon as it was put into Yunwu's mouth, it turned into a cool force and penetrated into Yunwu's body. Yunwu only felt that his body, which was going to be burst, suddenly got into a cool force. Compared with the force that he had been instilled, it was extremely cool. The collar was like a catalyst, which made the speed of energy operation in his body faster, and was close to the speed of the power in the jade brand. Cloud Dance finally breathed a sigh of relief. The body surface also slowly recovered. That's great. It's a good pill. Huolinger confidently said that she was really worried to death just now. Mu Xiaoming felt the pulse for Yunwu again and said, "It's much better, but we can't take it lightly. The strength in her body is still accumulating. If there is any abnormality again, we must give her medicine in time. It's important to help her in the future." Now it's getting shorter and shorter to close the tomb, but the cloud dance doesn't mean to stop at all. If the inheritance fails in the end, I'm afraid they will all stay here. Mu Xiaoming's words just remind Huting on one side. Just because of the safety problem of Yunwu, he forgot the closing time of the tomb. At this time, after reminding, he suddenly remembered. This is a careful calculation, found that the distance to close only half an hour. No. The grave is closing, Huting said in a hurry, but after seeing the cloud dance, he didn't wake up at all. When Huting said that, people in Huoshi town finally understood the meaning of Huting. If it was before, Huting might have a hint of waiting for the cloud dance. But just now, he saw the safety of Yunwu. At this time, he was more determined to leave. He could not press the fate of the whole Flint town here. Little 9 girls, where is the exit of this tomb? Huting turns his head and asks Xiaojiu. Small 9 raised an eye to see him, one eye, light of ask away. You want to leave? Yes. Huting said firmly. Although a little ashamed as the city leader, I have to leave anyway, please forgive me. If I stay in the tomb, I'm afraid that the fate of Flint town will be unpredictable for hundreds of years. What's more, this time, I'm bringing most of the elite of Flint town. Please understand. I'm worried about Miss Yunwu's safety, but... A trace of shame flashed on Huting's face. You are welcome, Lord of Fire. Dragon Qin, evil light mouth. From the beginning you are protecting her is enough. We naturally can't let you bear the risk. Fire City Lord's worry can understand. Fire Tang heart, a burst of relaxed, but then more guilt. In that case, I'll show you a way. Small 9 light said, although for Fire Tang's behavior is not very like, but think of his master and the other side seems not much friendship, and the other side has helped a lot, then feel that they should also let them leave. From here down that road is the exit. Little 9 pointed to the most remote road and said to Huting, that road is not very difficult, but it is much narrower than other roads. Moreover, other roads can pass through some ear chambers, but that road is a dark one. In the end, there is nothing. For those who come to search for treasure, they will not take this road in any case, but it is this road that is the way to leave the tomb. Fire Tang looked, but in the heart is for small 9 words is very trust. At the moment arched hand, said, thank you. Then he stood up and said to Huolinger, who was still guarding the cloud dance, Linger, let's go. Huolinger reluctantly looks at the cloud dance and frowns tightly. Linger. The fire heaved again. Huolinger pursed her mouth, twisted her head and said, I'll stay and take care of Sister Yun. Sister Yun will be okay. This words Fire Ting directly froze. I only think of Huoshi town, but I forget that Huolinger and Yunwu have long been friends. How can I leave with myself? Long Qingxia looks at Huolinger in surprise. Unexpectedly, this little girl is so affectionate. She can't help but praise her in her heart. This is not for fun. You'd better go back with us and wait for Miss Yunwu to come out. Huolin frowned and went forward to say. As a teacher of Huolinger, Huolinger is afraid of him sometimes. But recently, I don't know what happened. Huolinger didn't pay any attention at all. After listening to his words, he just said, I don't want to stay. Sister Yun needs to be taken care of. I won't leave until she's okay. Huolin saw that Huolinger had made up his mind. He was afraid that he couldn't persuade Huolinger to succeed, so he had to look at Huoteng. Linga, are you serious? Huoting asked, frowning. Seriously? Huolinger affirmed, Sister Yun saved my life, but for her, I would have died in the grave, so I must stay. If it wasn't for Yunwu's taking over Xiaojiu and defeating the man beside Mulin, Huolinger, who was alone at that time, would have been killed long ago. How could he hold a lot of treasures around Yunwu? As soon as Huolinger said that, Huoting knew that he could not persuade him. Well, in that case, you can guard Miss Yunwu for me in Flint Town. said Huating with a sigh. Hualing nodded, his eyes firm. Later, Huating and others said goodbye to the people and left the tomb in a hurry. With them, there are many people who go back to the grave to search for treasure. When they find that they can't take the treasure out anyway, they finally give up. The time for the tomb to be closed has finally come, and only Long Qingxie, Mu Xiuming, Lin Yuntong, Xiao Jiao and Hualinga are still with Yunwu. The square, which was originally hot and noisy, is very cold now. From time to time, Mu Xiuming feels the pulse for Yunwu and pays attention to the change of the power in Yunwu. Hualinga has fed her 3 pills in succession, but Yunwu still doesn't wake up. Instead, the power in Yunwu begins to accumulate again. The master is breaking through again? Small Nine surprised to see Cloud dance. Originally, I thought that the Cloud dance was just enough to give up the power behind, but I didn't expect that after waiting so long, did Cloud dance intend to break through to the Wuling realm? As soon as the words came out, several people's hearts were almost raised to their voices at the same time. They stared at Yunwu without blinking, for fear that something might go wrong. Cloud dance only feels that the power in the body has accumulated to the extreme again, and breaking through the bottleneck of Wuling is not the same as several times before. This time, the bottleneck is more difficult. If it is not successful, I'm afraid it will bring strong trauma to the body. But even so, she still didn't give up. The power in her body rotated one after another, accumulating in each rotation. Finally, the strength has accumulated to the present. Even if there is still constant strength to instill in, Yunwu feels that the strength in the body is so full that it can't even work for a week. It's time to break through. Cloud dance thought in the heart. Then with one go, mobilized all the strength in the body, directly toward the bottleneck. As if by electric shock general, when the power hit the bottleneck, Yunwu shivered all over, followed by severe pain, but even so, the bottleneck did not even have a crack. I don't believe it. You can't break through a little Wuling. Cloud dance said coldly in the heart, once again mobilized the strength of the body, constantly toward that layer of bottleneck impact up. Not once, twice, not twice, 3 times. In any case, we must break through the realm of Wuling. Boy, you must succeed. Long Qingxie felt the change of Cloud dance power and could not help thinking in his heart. The power in the body is constantly consumed in collisions, and then quickly absorbs the fresh power instilled into the body, becoming more powerful, and then consumed in collisions. In this way, the process of constant repetition, Cloud dance around the body as if breathing in general, constantly weak will be strong. Finally, the Cloud dance gathered a very powerful force to hit the bottleneck. Oh, the bottleneck that has been hit extremely fragile, broke up in an instant under this powerful blow. Like a vast ocean of power, they rushed to the realm of Wuling. It's like the people who have been imprisoned in a closed space for a long time are finally liberated and enter the free world. The pain in the body disappears instantly. Wuling! Dragon's eyes suddenly brightened, and his eyebrows were filled with pride and joy. At the same time, one side of the Small Nine breath suddenly changed, that because of the contract with Cloud Dance and was suppressed in the realm of Emperor Wu's strength, and then Cloud Dance promotion, also instantly into the realm of Wuling. Small Nine body twist, instantly turned into a white fox, behind Nine hairy tail, the whole body is suffused with white light, but only the size of an ordinary fox. This is her special mimicry, looks both lovely and charming. A coquettish fox call, Small Nine one pair of slender fox eyes comfortable narrow up, strength promotion, let her feel very comfortable. Small Nine also promoted? Mu Xiuming screamed and waited for Xiao Jiao to see it for a long time. Finally he vomited out, it's better to be a summoner. The master will upgrade and he will also upgrade. Small Nine white he one eye, obviously his fox form, but still like a person comfortable a lazy waist, then the body a twist, that appearance charm, graceful Small Nine will appear again. Everyone was relieved. Seeing that Yunwu broke through the Wuling realm, they thought that Yunwu would wake up next. Clinker this time, sudden change. The strength of Cloud Dance is improved, And the following is the disappearance of the space prohibition in the tomb. The summoners who have lost their sense and all kinds of treasures on them have come back to contact with themselves. Cloud Dance clearly felt that the strength of their summoners increased greatly one by one, and all of them were promoted to the realm of Wuling. Then, the connection with Hyo appeared again, and the connection with Chaos Hall also came back. The map of the tomb in my mind is clearer than before. Cloud Dance in the heart of a burst of joy, know that this is the reason for their acceptance of more heritage. But the next moment, the Jade card seems to be unwilling to be absorbed in this way, and the power of pouring in becomes bigger again. Yunwoo immediately regained her mind and devoted herself to the acceptance and inheritance. The strength of the former Emperor Wu was not enough after he was promoted to Wuling. But even so, Cloud Dance in the absorption speed increased several times, compared with the speed of Jade card is still small c big witch. No! Cloud Dance in the heart a surprised, only feel the body pain feeling more and more strong, the power of the speed is faster and faster. Mu Xiaoming eyebrows jump, immediately ordered, Ling, medicine fire spirit sun crispness living of promise, immediately put a medicine into the body of Cloud Dance. But this time it didn't calm down like before. I don't know if Yunwoo's body has developed resistance. The pill is fed in again, but the speed of Yupai is more fierce. Related to it, Yunwoo's body is instantly red. Under the skin, the tendons burst up. Originally, the body was a little bit thin. At this time, Yunwoo directly became a fat man. The clothes on the body are windless and automatic, hunting, like self-explosion. What's the matter? Well, Lingo was worried for a moment and fed another pill into it, but it still had no effect. No more feeding. Long Qingxia drank coldly in a low voice. Now is the last stage of inheritance. She can only solve it by herself. If she feeds her pills again, she will burst and die. This words Mu Xiaoming directly stupefied. How can it be? On her own? What if she can't take it? Mu Xiaoming roared anxiously. He's right. Small Nine light voice, eyes staring at Cloud Dance, just has been immersed in the joy of promotion, unexpectedly forget this stubble. Now think about it, can't help but tremble, master now can only rely on themselves, whether it is pills or other, as long as it is external force, will let the master can't absorb, finally just destroy. This is also the most dangerous place in the inheritance, either Cloud Dance to support the past, or burst to death. What if she can't take it? Do you really want to die here? Mu Xiaoming asked with a frown. There's another way. Small Nine said, let the master give up inheritance, strength back to inheritance before. Mu Xiaoming was stunned. Then he rushed directly to Yunwoo and said, Xiaowu, don't mess around. If you can't bear it, please give up, okay? Life is the most important. The words haven't finished, directly by Long Qingxia to carry the neck to throw behind. Long Qingxia's eyes were also full of worry. He looked at the Cloud Dance, but what he said was telling Mu Xiaoming, don't disturb her, she will be square. What happened around Cloud Dance has no mind to manage. She now a thought is how long her body can persist. When Mingming was promoted to Wuling, his meridians had been tempered everywhere. Compared with ordinary people, his physical quality was much stronger. But now it seems that it is still too weak. Under the impact of that force, there is the possibility of explosion at any time. Do you really want to give up and go back to the strength before entering the grave? Cloud Dance said with a sigh in the heart. In the body's bearing is more and more big, but also can clearly feel that it is their limit immediately. Cloud Dance heart even has the meaning of giving up. No way. Cloud Dance in the heart a cold drink. Now at this time, I'm afraid that the tomb has been closed. If I give up at this time, I'm afraid that I can only stay in the tomb from now on. And I don't know when the next tomb will be opened. Are you really willing? There are so many friends with you. Do you want them to stay here for decades because of their own relationship? No. Cloud Dance heart Alin immediately gritted teeth to insist down. The feeling of swelling and pain of the body is getting stronger and stronger, and finally it almost tears Yunwoo apart. But Cloud Dance can only gnash one's teeth, while enduring the severe pain, while desperately speeding up their own cultivation speed. Finally, to the limit. Yunwoo felt as if there was a tight string in her mind, which suddenly broke away. Her long-standing insistence disintegrated in an instant. "Are you going to die?" Yunwoo thought vaguely. When the dangerous voice in his mind sounded, Yunwoo knew that he could not hold on. Just at this time, the Chaos Hall, which had just resumed contact, suddenly trembled. A trace of the majestic power in the body was squeezed into the sea of knowledge. When approaching the Chaos Hall, he was suddenly sucked in by the Chaos Hall. Then, the whole Chaos Hall trembled violently, and Yunwoo could almost feel the excitement of Chaos Hall. The next moment, the first and second floors of the Hall of Chaos were opened. Like two bottomless caves, they happily absorbed the majestic power in Yunwoo's body. The almost visible power is continuously inhaled into the Chaos Hall, but the meaning of the Chaos Hall is not affected at all. What's the matter? Cloud Dance is suffering from incomparable pain. Suddenly feel that the body pain seems to have disappeared a lot. Consciousness has become a little clearer. This is a detailed look. Found that the power absorbed into the body is flowing towards the Chaos Palace. Chaos Hall? Is it what Hyo needs? Cloud Dance thinks away, but Black AO doesn't know how to return a responsibility, although already restored and Cloud Dance of contact, but seemed to be busy. What general? Didn't answer her words at all. The power of inheritance in the jade metal is still pouring in, and Chaos Hall has no weakness, swallowing all the power that makes Yunwoo feel uncomfortable. Cloud Dance a look, suddenly surprised. If you go on like this, you won't get that inheritance? So simply put everything behind you and continue to absorb that power. Now that you have the help of Chaos Hall, the pain in your body is slowly disappearing. You can see that the speed of Chaos Hall is much faster than that of Yupai. If you absorb some more at this time, you can just improve your strength. You don't have to worry that your body can't bear it. How have you been? Mu Xiaoming looks at Yunwoo's body and recovers. He just wants to feel his pulse, but he is directly photographed by Long Qingxia. Don't touch it. Just now, her body is still very high. Now, if you touch it, it will hurt her. Long Qingxia coldly said, although the reason is very legitimate, but the heart is still not willing to let Mu Xiaoming touch her. Mu Xiaoming stares at him and shrinks his hand. Who let others say it right? After that, the power became extremely stable. No matter how fast the Yupai was, it could not match the speed of Chaos Hall. It must be because no matter how old the Yupai was, it was only the key of Summoner's inheritance. It could not be equal to the treasure like Chaos Hall, so it had to obediently submit. Little by little, Yunwoo doesn't know how long he has been practicing. He only knows that he has never opened his eyes since he closed them. After entering the Wuling realm, it becomes extremely difficult to promote, and the speed is much slower. After absorbing for a long time, it only reaches the middle stage of Wuling, and then the speed is slower. And inheritance has to stop. Yupai couldn't fight Chaos Hall in the end, and the speed slowed down slowly. It's over. Cloud Dance thought in the heart. Chaos Temple suddenly trembles. The two black holes that constantly absorb power suddenly stop. Yunwoo was surprised, and then the third door of Chaos Hall opened slowly. Chaos Hall, the third floor. The cloud dances to know the sea. The shocked eyes look at that slowly open the third layer gate, for a moment unexpectedly speechless. The first floor, students. Second floor, dead door. What is the third level? Yunwoo can't wait. Just after the absorption of the Chaos Hall stopped, the jade plate seemed to admit defeat. The power of inheritance has completely entered Yunwoo's body, and the map of the tomb clearly appeared in his mind. At the same time, there is also a voice that seems to come from ancient times. From today on, I will be the successor of Chen Lao. May what I have learned in my life be able to wish you the best. Yunwoo moved in his heart and remembered Chen's words. As soon as his consciousness flashed, he went into the third layer of Chaos Hall to explore the mysterious third layer, the third floor of Chaos Palace. What Yunwoo didn't know was that when her consciousness entered the third layer, Her Numenon suddenly disappeared in the square of the tomb. What happened? Mu Xiaoming opened his eyes. Just a few people are still nervous looking at Yunwu, for fear that she can't survive. How suddenly people disappeared. As soon as he turned his head, he saw the dragon's face behind him. Even the breath completely disappeared. The dragon tilted and squinted and said that he had explored all around quietly, but he didn't find anything. The cloud dance would have disappeared out of thin air. Long tilted his head to look at Xiao Jiao and asked, "Should there be a connection between you and her?" Small 9 eyebrows micro-pick, Light said, "Yes, but in my induction, the host is still before the place, did not leave." "What?" Mu Xiaoming said, "How can it be? There is no one here." The dragon tilted and frowned, stood up and went to the place where Yunwu had just stayed. He reached out and touched it in the air, but he didn't touch anything. If you just hide your body, at least you should be able to touch it. Long leans and frowns, saying that he doesn't know what happened to Yunwu, but his intuition tells him that Xiao Jiao's reaction won't go wrong. The master is still there, but it seems it's blocked by something. Small 9 said, "Specific I don't know, but should be back soon. Wait for the master to come back," you ask again. At least for now, the master will not be in danger. Several people looked at each other, but Xiao Jiao had already said so, and they could only believe it. Because of the contract, if something happens to Yunwu, Xiao Jiao will respond. Now that Xiao Jiao has nothing, Yunwu must be safe. At that moment, the crowd sat down again, quietly waiting for Yunwu to appear again. At this time, Yunwu didn't know that he had entered the 3rd floor of Chaos Hall with his real body. The 3rd floor of Chaos Hall is different from the first two, and the space area of the whole 3rd floor is not very large. But it's not small. There is no lighting, but it looks very bright. There are milky white walls all around. The runes on the walls are looming, and there is a huge array carved on the ground. The array is now dim. Yunwu looked around curiously, but he couldn't see the magic of the 3rd layer. What on earth is this for? Cloud Dance frowns to think of. The whole 3rd floor looks very open. You can have a panoramic view of the whole floor at a glance. When you walk around, you can see the end. It's like a big playground, which can accommodate tens of thousands of people. Yunwu slowly walked to the 3rd floor gate, reached out and stroked it. Suddenly, several lights and shadows appeared on the empty gate. Light and shadow slowly gathered into 2 words. The sight of cloud dancing was attracted in the past. Dumen. There are 8 of them, which are divided into 4 life and 4 death. Now it seems that every floor of the Chaos Hall has something to do with the strange door Duanjia. Cloud Dance murmured, frowning and thinking, what kind of door is this Dumen? Dumen is one of the 4 gates of life. When it is used in the Palace of Chaos, it will certainly play a defensive role. It can save people's name at a critical moment or help people out of danger. Be able to get out of danger. Yunwu raised his hand and rubbed his temple. Suddenly he thought of something. He lowered his head and touched his right hand with his left hand. He felt the powerful pulse of his wrist. Yunwu was suddenly stunned. Is this my real body? Cloud Dance thinks away. Isn't Chaos Temple in oneself of no sea? Why can you enter the 3rd level? What is the function of the 3rd layer? At this time, the long-lost voice of Black Pride suddenly came to mind. Dumen, subordinate to Duanjia, is the most important part of Duanjia. It is suitable for hiding, and searching for people and objects. Black Proud voice light of spread, although the tone is usual, but it seems that more excited. Dumen, 1 more Dumen is equivalent to more students. And from the current situation of Cloud Dance, I'm afraid that this Dumen will be able to hide with his real body. Is this a great skill? If you meet a strong opponent in the future, as long as you can hide, who can catch yourself? Invisible hidden form? Cloud Dance a lung, some surprised said, followed by the rapid rotation of the mind, and then contact their real body, a think, immediately understand the beauty of this thing. So no matter who I fight with in the future, I will be invincible first? I can't say that. Hyo said, although your strength has made great progress, it's still a little worse than some real experts, such as the Shangguan's Hong of the Beast Gate. If you fight against each other, whether this Duman can be effective or not is a matter of 2 Yunwu size. It's still a matter of strength. His current strength should match Shangguanli's, but if he meets Shangguan's Hong, Cloud Dance's eyes twinkle, thinking of those people and their own plans. I can't help but take a deep breath. One day, she will stand on the top of the top and destroy all the people in the Beast Gate. Well, it's time to get out. Hyo said, I also want to know if this Duman can bring your friends in to see the 3rd level array and rune. I don't think it's just for one person. As soon as Hyo's words were finished, Yunwu's eyes brightened. Yes, ordinary stealth items can only make one person invisible, but now the 3rd floor of Chaos Palace is so large, maybe it can really take other people to be invisible together? So think, Cloud Dance can't wait for the body of Flash, instantly appeared on the square. Would Xiuming's several people believe the words of Small 9? No, Cloud Dance, nothing happened, has been sitting in place waiting for it. Sure enough, it wasn't long before the place where Yunwu had just disappeared was shining again, and the figure of Yunwu appeared in front of everyone again. It was just this time, but it was no longer a posture of continuing to practice. It was as if I had just come out of another space. I stood in front of the crowd with my hands on my back, with a pair of bright eyes and a faint smile on the corner of my mouth. Everyone was stunned, and some of them couldn't react. Master, congratulations on entering the Wuling realm and successfully receiving the inheritance. The Small 9 takes the lead to react, to come over, leak out the charmed smile of the sign, walk forward to say to Cloud Dance. Cloud Dance, surprised to see her one eye, seemed to be didn't expect Small 9 will call oneself for Lord Sun General, clear before all, don't want to open mouth. But Yunwu didn't care much. Some words are better to talk in private. Little Dance. You made it? Mu Xiuming then responded. After listening to their conversation, he rushed forward excitedly and grasped Yunwu's shoulder. Did you succeed in inheriting this tomb? Is everything here ours? Can I have 2 of those herbs? Have you really entered the realm of Wuling? So fast? Can you compare with me again and let me see the difference between the realm of Emperor Wu and the realm of Spirit Wu? Mu Xiuming talks incessantly and turns Yunwu's mind to his questions. Yunwu looks at Mu Xiuming helplessly. Even if he wants to answer his questions, he doesn't know where to answer them. By the way, Xiaowu, what happened just now? How did you disappear? Mu Xiuming finally asked a key question. Cloud Dance, corner of the mouth a hook, looking at in front of the same confused people, mysterious said, take you to a place. As soon as the voice fell, Cloud Dance's heart moved, and it directly opened the gate of the 3rd floor of Chaos Hall. When people were wondering where they were going, they saw a faint soft white light. In the consciousness of Cloud Dance, we will wrap all the people in it. Then a flash, people have no feeling, they found that the surrounding environment suddenly changed. Just now it was just above the square of the tomb, but at this time it went directly to another place. The golden twinkling array and rune were hidden in the light white fog. What is this place? Lin Yuntong, who has always been calm, said in surprise. Long Qingxie looked around, and his last eyes were fixed in front of Yunwu. The Cloud Dances, the corner of the mouth a hook, pour also not conceal. It's something in me. Because the realm of martial arts and spirit has entered into the realm of martial arts and spirit, it opens up this ability. It can transfer people here in an instant and play the role of escape. In the eyes of the outside world, it is the disappearance of body shape and breath at the same time. And now that I let you in, it just shows that this thing can be used for large-scale targets. Cloud Dance said in a good mood. They all looked at Yunwu with strange eyes, and they thought, it's more and more against the sky, which is equivalent to being invincible. Cloud Dance calmly bare the eyes of the public, said, just got the ability, the specific is not sure, so I don't know if it can meet a powerful enemy cannot be found. After all, even now, it's enough. With a flash of light, the crowd reappeared in the square. Xiao Wu, where are you going next? Mu Xiuming came to Yunwu and said with a smile. Cloud Dance white he one eye, this guy, don't want to let oneself return to would all boundary? In that case, go back. She was separated from her friends there. Maybe she could see them when she went back? At present, Cloud Dance Light said, back to the boundary of wood. On the other side, when Shangguan and Nangong opened their eyes again, a forest suddenly appeared before they met, and they couldn't see the end. In the hot summer, there were only a few bird calls wandering in the woods. The smell of leaves made Shangguan look at a loss. Then he sighed helplessly. Have we been sent somewhere else? Shangguan looks around helplessly and turns to Nangong Yi's face. Nangong Yi looks around faintly. He doesn't speak at all. He doesn't feel depressed. He just stands quietly and looks like a human character. After a long time, he finally pointed to a place in front of him and said, "Go that way, the inn we've been to is in front of you." But not bad. Shangguan looked at the direction pointed by Nangong Yi in surprise and raised his mouth. "Let's go. How far is it?" "Not far." Nangong Yi slightly raises the corner of his mouth and takes the lead in walking towards the front. Shangguan, with a smile, hurriedly followed him, and the two walked forward. The forest was so big that they couldn't see the edge at a glance. After walking for a long time, they didn't go anywhere. The hot afternoon had already arrived, which made Shangguan very depressed. He turned to look at Nangongji with a calm face, and was very helpless. "You say that's ahead. How long will it take to arrive? If we go on like this, we will starve to death. Why don't you have a rest first?" Nangong Yi said, turning around and sitting under the tree. "I'm afraid you don't see where it is." Skimming his mouth, he took out some food from his luggage and handed it to Nangong Yi. They simply added some energy. Under the shade of the trees, the cool wind made Shangguan feel comfortable for a moment. He sighed contentedly. "I don't know what the boundary of Mudu is like now. I'm afraid it has been occupied by the people of the Beast Gate." Nangong Yi closed his eyes, lowered his head, and sat cross-kneed. He didn't plan to pay attention to Shangguan at all. Bored, Shangguan picked up dogtail grass from the ground, held it in his mouth and closed his eyes. After a while, he suddenly heard the voice of the people around him. Shangguan opened his eyes and saw Nangong Yi standing beside him, looking down at him. "Let's go, it's in front." "My God, you just said it was in the front." Shangguan wailed. Nangong Yi glanced at Shangguan, turned his head and looked in front of him. There was a long road in front of a large forest. Shangguan immediately in front of a bright, ah. Nangongji quickened his pace and galloped towards the boundary of the wood capital. "Maybe we can meet our friends." The upper official fart bumps within the South Temple side. Smile ha say. In the scorching sun, the road hidden in the woods was blown by the wind, which raised the dust, so that both of them could not help squinting. Sure enough, not far away, the inn is located at the end of the road. The tourists who used to come and go sit here, drink tea and chat, but now, it's a lot colder. "Come on, maybe the innkeeper knows something." Shangguan hurried to the direction of the inn, but was stopped by Nangong Yi and said, "Be careful of ambush." They closed their eyes at the door for a while and found nothing strange. Then they went into the inn. When I just walked into the inn, I saw that there were only a few people in the inn, and Xiao Er, who was sitting behind the counter and dozing. They found a table and sat down. "Xiao Er, make a good pot of tea." I saw the young man behind the counter. Suddenly a smart sat up and looked at Nangong and Shangguan sitting at the table. After a long time he yawned. Then he rubbed his eyes sleepily, took the teapot, and walked towards them. "Good tea. Where is there any good tea? Now there are fewer guests. Alas, life is too hard." He poured 2 cups of tea for Nangong Yi and Shangguan. He yawned and went back to the counter. He fell down and fell asleep again. Shangguan raised his eyebrows and looked at the loveless little two in front of him. He shrugged helplessly. "Can we order something to eat now?" "No, just have a drink and get ready to go." "Small two lie on the table stuffy say." Shangguan was speechless and ready to go on the road. What a bad word. Nangong Yi took a sip of tea. He couldn't help frowning. He looked at the clear and light tea in the cup and silently put it down. He asked, "Has anyone ever been in here since the boundary of the wood capital was destroyed?" Yes. Small two suddenly sat up, very surprised, went to two people in front of a look, said, "A few days ago, a man and a woman went in, after entering never come out, they went in," also asked this sentence. Nangong Yi and Shangguan looked at each other and saw each other's serious surprise, so they were silent. For a long time, Nangong Yi suddenly said, "Let's take a rest and go. Qi Yi should have gone in." Shangguan nodded seriously, then turned his head and patted Shower on the shoulder and said, "Do you see the people of the Beast Gate passing by these days?" Small two one face is confused, looking at two people to shake head. Seeing that they may not be able to ask anything, Shangguan and Nangong Yi nodded, continued to drink tea and stopped talking. All of a sudden, there was a sound of footwork behind him. A man came in from the outside. As soon as he entered the door, he yelled at the counter, "Little two." A pot of good tea with that, sitting on a table in front of Shangguan and Nangong Yi. Shao was stunned for a long time. Then he slowly picked up the teapot, went to pour water for the man, and said, "We don't have many people here. How can we have good tea? Just drink it." The man didn't speak. He just picked up the cup and drank it. It seemed that he was thirsty for a long time. He raised his head and asked the young man, "Has anyone ever been in the wood capital since it was destroyed?" Shao blinked, turned his head, looked up at Shangguan and Nangong Yi and said, "Maybe you know each other?" At this time, Shangguan and Nangong Yi suddenly turned their heads, accompanied by Shangguan's surprised cry, "Ah? Isn't this Situ Lan?" In front of him, Situ Lan quickly turned his head, looked at the people behind him, and said with a smile, "My God, you really have no place to find. I knew you would come to the border of Mudu to find us." At this time, he saw a man in white sitting beside the Shangguan. He was stunned for a long time by his excellent appearance. This man's feeling was so familiar. His cold and delicate appearance made Situ Lan tilt his head for a long time. Then he tentatively asked, "Are you Nangong Inanganji, who has taken off the veil, is really amazing?" Situ Lan looks up and down for a long time, and then laughs with surprise, "It's really Nanganji. Ha, that's great. I finally found you sitting next to Shangguan and Nangong Yi." Situ Lan was very happy and turned to Shower and said, "Let's have some good dishes." The second kid scratched his head and said, "There's no good food. You'd better have some tea and go." Situ Lan laughs and takes out the meat of Warcraft from his luggage. He says, "I killed the wolf and cut the meat. I'm afraid there's nothing to eat on the road. Let's cook it and take it." Shao opened his mouth and looked at the left and right people. Then he took the wolf back, swallowed his saliva and went to the kitchen. The three sat at the table and drank tea. Shao said that someone had already entered the boundary of Mudu, so it might be Meng Bai and Qi Yi's, or Shao Wu. Shangguan said, looking at Situ Lan, "Maybe the people of the Beast Gate are still here, so we must hurry to find them, otherwise, they will be in danger." Situ Lan nodded seriously, "Just now, we don't know what's going on inside at all, so we should be extremely cautious and we can't act alone. Three people sitting there, and there is no one to talk about being scattered in other places encountered things, until the small two with meat came up, put in front of a few people." Shangguan smacked his mouth and looked at the fragrant barbecue in front of him. He immediately got excited. He tore off a piece of it and put it into his mouth. He was hot and exhaled, "Wow, it's really delicious." Situ Lan and Nangong Yi both picked up the meat, tore off one and put it into their mouth to taste it. Suddenly, Shangguan turned his head and looked to the side. He saw Shower standing beside him, looking at the meat among the three people, swallowing saliva, and biting another piece. Shangguan patted Shower on the shoulder and asked him to sit down. "Come on, you also sit down and eat with us. By the way, tell us what happened to the boundary of Mudu during this period." Little Two's eyes suddenly shine, turned to see Nangong Yi and Situ Lan, seemed to be asking for their consent. Nangong Yi ignored, but Situ Lan is smiling and nodding, and give Little Two a place. "Maybe I haven't eaten such delicious food for a long time. I tore off a big piece of meat and ate it, very delicious." Looking at the Little Two's eating, Shangguan reluctantly put his hand on his head, tore off a small piece, put it into his mouth and chewed carefully. You said, "Have you seen people in black clothes coming in from here recently?" On hearing this, he nodded in a hurry. The meat he had not yet swallowed was in his mouth. He was very anxious to speak. As a result, he choked and coughed. Sidhu Lan poured a cup of tea for him, and he poured it down crazily. Then he wiped his mouth and said, "You're right. Recently, there are always people in black who come in from here, and then few people come out. I doubt whether they died in the house. It's too late." He tore off another piece of meat, put it in his mouth, chewed it twice, swallowed it, and continued. "So I said, you'd better not go in. What I see now is basically that there is no way out. I'm afraid that now the boundary of Mudu has become a dangerous place. Since the boundary of Mudu was destroyed, it has long been a dangerous place." Nangong-yi frowned and looked at the gate of Mudu not far away. He didn't speak. "Let's go quickly, or maybe the people inside will have some trouble." Shangguan said, bite down a large piece of meat in his mouth, swallow it, smack his mouth. "Full, how about you? Otherwise, let's go." Nangong-yi slightly raises the corner of his mouth, turns his head, and suddenly reaches out and grabs Shower's collar. Before Shangguan and Sidhu Lan could react, they saw that Xiao Er suddenly raised his hand, and a black fighting spirit gushed out of his hand and patted Nangong-yi's chest. Nangong-yi sneers coldly. He sidesteps and raises his hand to hold Shower's neck. Suddenly, Shower is picked up by him and thrown like a wall. With a bang, the wall of the inn was knocked and shaken, and the little two spouted blood and fell to the ground. "I said, we give you meat to eat, and you even attack us." Shangguan is very helpless to squat down, looking at the ground gasping for breath of the small two. Said, "Other people are not already in? They, on their way here, cough cough cough." Xiao Er coughed 2 times violently, and then he died. Several people's hearts sank, looked at each other, got up and walked out. "It seems that we can't delay. A little later, I'm afraid the people of the Beast Gate will arrive. I'm afraid we can't escape at that time. We have to find the 2 people inside now." Sidhu Lan's words were agreed by Nangong-yi and Shangguan, so several people went out. Just walking to the gate of the border of Mudu, several people can't help slowing down. The city, which was prosperous before, has become a ruined city in a twinkling of an eye. The whole city is as silent as death. The blood of the past has been dried away. There was a sense of extermination. "I feel that something might happen here, so we'd better find them soon." Sidhu Lan frowned and looked around. Nangong and Shangguan nodded in agreement. In the world of Mudu, they felt gloomy, as if someone was staring at several people in the dark. 3 people all the way speechless, very vigilant forward, looking around the dead general city. "What do we do? Where are we going to find them?" Shangguan looked around in frustration. "After all, this place is so big, and we don't know whether what the little two said just now is true, if not true." "It's okay. Let's look for it again." Nangong-yi frowned slightly, looked at the surrounding scenery and sighed. "We have to find them." In the chaos and silence of the city, a voice came suddenly. "This way? Who knows, we seem to be trapped. What to do with that?" Hearing the voice of one of them, Shangguan opened his eyes in surprise. It seems to be Chi Yi's voice. 2 people around are also very surprised. A few people rushed to the front of the sound of the place. After a while, sure enough, I saw 2 figures in front of me. They sat on one of the steps and seemed very depressed. The 3 men ran in the direction of the 2, and the Shangguan ran and yelled, "Chi, Mengbai, is that you?" The empty city was able to send out echoes. After several circles, the sound finally reached the ears of people over there. Nangong-yi's steps suddenly stopped. "What's the matter?" Shangguan and Sidhu Lan turn their heads and look at Nangong-yi standing behind them. They are a little strange. What happened? Nangong-yi didn't speak, just quietly closed his eyes for a moment and said, "We seem to have entered an array." Before they finished speaking, the 3 of them looked behind them almost at the same time. The scenery behind them suddenly changed, and they didn't know each other. "The way we came here has completely changed. It seems that we are really trapped." Shangguan felt a thump in his heart. In this case, he suddenly entered the Dharma array. Who knows if it was the ghosts of the people of the beast sect? Thinking like this, he felt very heavy. Suddenly, the two people over there stood up and walked towards the three people. They seemed to be a little uncertain and cautious. Three people stood in the same place, waiting for the two people over there to come this way. Are the people over there Meng Bai and Qi Yi's? Shangguan suddenly yelled at the opposite person, but saw that the two people there bowed their heads and said something. Then the woman's voice suddenly came, "Is it Shangguan?" Finally confirmed the identity of the other five people, quickly gathered together. This time, everyone finally came back. We've really been separated for a long time. Now, we finally meet and there are only 5 of them left. Shangguan and others looked around, but they could not help frowning. But now we are trapped in the array, I feel very unsafe. There seems to be no danger in this array. Mengbai said, "We just don't know why we can't get out. We've been looking here for a long time, but we haven't found out how to solve this array." Several people walked to a large open space in the center, sat on the ground and formed a circle. "We can't get out now, but because the second boy in the inn just now is from the Beast Gate, I think the Beast Gate people may be coming soon." Siddhalan said that he turned to look at Nangong Yi. Nangong Yi sat on his knees and said nothing. The atmosphere was a little tense, and everyone was silent. They sat on the ground and took the time to practice. They were on guard. Suddenly, there was a strong wind. Let all people cannot help but a tight, quickly stand up, fighting wrapped the whole body. It seems that the second child is right. The people of the Beast Gate have arrived. Qi Yi's frowned and his voice was very serious. However, after perceiving the realm of the companions around, everyone clearly laughed. It turns out that everyone has successfully broken through. In this way, today's battle should not be too difficult. Sure enough, a large group of people in black came here. We are now trapped in the array. We are just being hanged. Shangguan frowned and smacked his lips. He looked at the crowd in black outside and murmured. In front of him, countless people in black suddenly came over and cleverly surrounded the array, standing in a circle, surrounded 5 people. Around the dark array, I gradually feel that it's dark. We can only defend. If we attack, we are too hindered. Shangguan's expression became more and more serious. I saw countless people in black around with strong and abnormal aura, which made several people's expressions gradually serious. The men in black are well trained. They are surrounded but don't go in. Obviously, they know that they will be trapped if they go in. The weapons in the hands of countless people in black, wrapped in black fighting spirit, shot at Shangguan and others. Several people a bite, back to back, carefully deal with. We don't feel like we're in the net. Shangguan grinned bitterly. He turned to look around him. All the people dealt with him cautiously. No one paid any attention to him. Nangong Yi glanced at Shangguan and said, "Don't be distracted. There are countless people in black fighting. They are all in their realm. Although the fighting is not so difficult, they are also very helpless. The continuous flow of people in black makes them have no time to care about others." Qi Yi's suddenly frowned slightly and looked up at the person in front of him. He suddenly carried out a fight in his hand, turned into a whip, stretched out of the array, hooked a man's foot, directly pulled into the array, and threw it fiercely towards the ground. In an instant, the man in black had lost his breath. Nangong Yi looks down at the ground. Countless small stones are scattered around him. Luck collects all the stones on the ground in front of him and shoots them out quickly. In an instant, the people in black outside scream and fall down. They don't stand up again. "Hello," I said. "Don't look for all these minions. Let's play some important roles. It's boring for us to fight." Shangguan suddenly cried out helplessly, raised his hand to shoot out, and knocked down a large area of the man in black in front of him. Suddenly, the attack of the man in black slowed down a lot. "Since you've all said that, it's not very kind of me not to come and play with you for a while." A familiar voice came from the man in black in front of him. As soon as several people's faces changed, they turned their heads and looked up at Shangguan. Their eyes were full of murderous spirit. Shangguan coughed 2 times and scratched his head with a bitter smile. Saw in front of the crowd suddenly flew out of a familiar figure, immediately led a few people back a step, vigilant look at the person in front of. Shangguan Li seems to be in a very good mood. He goes to the side of the array with a smile, backs his hands, looks at the 5 people in the array and says, "It's really no effort." With that he turned to Nangong Yi. Nangong Yi frowned and looked sideways. Shangguan gritted his teeth and said angrily, "If you have the ability, you'll come in, or you'll have no trouble." Before he finished speaking, Shangguan Li suddenly raised his hand and patted Shangguan's chest. Shangguan was so nervous that he quickly raised his hand to defend himself. However, people around him suddenly rushed forward to resist Shangguan's attack. All 5 of them felt that their qi and blood were surging, and they almost vomited blood, but Shangguan Li stepped back 2 steps, and the corner of his mouth was covered with blood. The corners of the mouth of the 5 people couldn't help but stir up and attack the Shangguan. But Shangguan Li was outside the array after all. They couldn't grasp Shangguan Li's direction flexibly. They screamed outside for a while, but they didn't hurt Shangguan Li. "What are you struggling with?" Shangguan gave a sneer and attacked several people. All of a sudden, 5 people felt the pressure suddenly increased, gritted their teeth, carried out the fighting spirit, wrapped the whole body, and tried their best to resist. A man in black is beside Shangguan Li. He looks at 5 people trying to stop Shangguan Li's attack. His eyes turn and he claps them in the direction of Qi Yi's. Suddenly feel a strong wind hit Qi Knight, eyebrows slightly wrinkled, but in front of the officially strong pressure let her simply can't escape. Suddenly, in front of a white shadow suddenly appeared, will Qi Knight behind resist the black fighting? Nangongji! Qi Yi's anxiously looks at the Nangong Yi in front of him and shouts. He raises his hand and drags the man in black from outside. He presses him on the ground and pats him to death. Also at this moment, Shangguan Li suddenly changes direction, mercilessly blows Nangong Yi out. Nangong Yi suddenly fell to the ground, coughed twice, spewed out a big mouthful of blood, covered his chest, and didn't stand up for a long time. For people instant quick red eyes, will South Palace E block behind. The upper official raises hand to pick up the long sword to the upper official Li mercilessly stab. In an instant there was a roar. Qi Yi's quickly helps Nangong Yi up. Looking at Nangong Yi anxiously, he sees Nangong Yi shaking his head at her, saying that he is okay. He wipes the corners of his mouth and reluctantly stands up with Qi Yi's help. But Shangguan Li didn't plan to give up and attack 5 people more fiercely. After several confrontations with Shangguan Li, several people were exhausted and panting. Looking at their appearance, they couldn't help laughing bitterly. I didn't expect that all of us arrived at the boundary of Mudu by chance, but we happened to meet the Beast Gate. Maybe the people of Beast Gate have already designed all this. So all of them were caught. In other words, there are 2 less of you. Shangguan picked his eyebrows and looked at the people in front of him. He looked at 5 people from left to right and touched his chin. With that, he raised his hand. In an instant, the man in black behind continued to attack. But these minions are really no threat. There are countless corpses of the beast sect outside the array. Shangguan Li stands outside and looks at the 5 people in the array like a good play. We have to find a way to break this array. Nangong Yi said that his face was pale and he was obviously hurt. This array doesn't do us any harm, which means it must be set up for us by friends. Sidu Lan lowered his head in thought. Just then, Shangguan Li suddenly slapped Shangguan. Before Shangguan could react, he was slapped with 1 palm, and his blood gushed. He had no strength to stand up. Seeing that 2 of the 5 had been injured, the atmosphere became more and more heavy. You said the array was set by a friend? Is it a little dance? The 2 of them. Qi Yi hears Si-Tu Lan's words, can't help but frown to ask away. As soon as the words came out, Sidu Lan's heart trembled. It's really possible. Don't forget that dragon has the ability to pour evil. But now the situation does not allow them to think so much. Shangguan attacks one move after another. After he is injured, his eyes are full of disgust. Well, that's rubbish. Shangguan said coldly. Shangguan sneered. He had no strength to stand up, but in the face of Shangguan Li, he still had no fear. Friends around the moment will be surrounded by Shangguan, a face of vigilant looking at Shangguan Li. We all broke through Emperor Wu, but we didn't even have the ability to fight him. Shangguan was behind them, coughing violently, whispering, and sitting on his knees to heal quickly. Nangong Yi doesn't speak either. In front of him, Qi Yi's, Meng Bai and Situ Lan blocked them. When Yunwu was there, only 2 Wudi could escape from him, but now all 5 of them are promoted, and they are not rivals at all. Because of the array, they can only be beaten passively. For a moment, everyone hates the person who set the array. Shangguan was very proud with a smile. He looked down at his hand and suddenly jumped into the array. Shangguanli has come in. Meng Bai's face suddenly changed color. When he came in, didn't it mean that he was going to die? In this case, he couldn't get out, and 5 of himself couldn't get out, and 1 to 5 was more than enough for Shangguanli. The 3 men quickly surrounded Shangguan and Nangongji and wrapped them in fighting spirit. Shangguan Li, who entered the array, looked at the 3 panting people in front of him and burst out laughing. You people still want to fight with me? It's too tender. Raise your hand and grab Meng Bai's neck. As soon as Meng Bai's face changed, he took out his long sword and stabbed Shangguan Li's palm. But in a moment, Shangguan Li had disappeared from his body and had not yet reacted. 2 people around him had already been beaten out. Shangguan Li pinched Meng Bai's neck and lifted him up. Meng Bai couldn't breathe, his face was red, his mouth was wide, his legs were kicking. Qi Yi's takes a look at it and draws out his sword to attack Shangguan Li. However, Shangguan Li doesn't want to dodge at all. He shoots it directly and knocks Qi Yi's sword out. Meng Bai and Qi Yi's come forward in a hurry, and they stab a sword at the same time. Shangguan's vigorous action was blocked, but he had to leave Qi Yi's behind and take 2 steps backward. How do you feel? This Shangguan Li has become stronger. Situ Lan whispered in Meng Bai's ear, I'm afraid they're coming. It's useless. No way. Shangguan suddenly cut in and said with a relaxed face, we can almost draw with him before. Even if he becomes stronger, we will become stronger. Xiao Wu comes back, we can still draw with him, at least we won't be defeated. I don't know when Xiao Wu will come. Situ Lan grinned bitterly and looked at Shangguan Li, who seemed to be watching his own plays. But think about it, now we are all stronger. I really want Xiao Wu to come and have a look. Now we can fight side by side with her. Several people watched Shangguan Li warily, but they were chatting, which made Shangguan Li angry. Yelled, how many of you have finished talking? Shangguan Li's very arrogant smile, looking at a few people in front of him, laughing, children, I hope you can live longer, don't let me down too much. Before he finished speaking, Shangguan Li's whole body was suddenly wrapped by black energy. The black repressive atmosphere suddenly filled the middle of the whole array with pressure. Nangong Yi suddenly finished his work and stood beside Qi Yi's, surrounded by purple fighting Qi. Are you okay? Qi night color didn't turn ahead, just light of asked A, more light glimpses South Temple E, although the facial expression is some pale. But there was no big problem. Relieved, he turned to see Shangguan. Shangguan still closed his eyes and breathed quietly. Before the meeting, Shangguan Li suddenly set out and rushed towards the 4 people. His body was like a phantom, leaving a remnant, which caught people off guard. Qi Yi's snake soared forward a probe, unexpectedly once pounce on empty, hastily break footstep. Turning back to stab, he saw a flower in front of him. He was tight in his heart. He quickly raised his sword to defend. He saw the figure of Shangguan Li coming near behind him. The huge pressure made Qi Yi's frown. But after seeing Shangguan Li, Shangguan suddenly stood up and took out his sword to stab Shangguan Li's back. Shangguan Li has already felt the feeling of sword wind. He turns over and dodges the sword. He also misses the best corner to attack Qi Yi's and throws her on the ground. Qi Yi's finally regained her freedom. She touched her neck, gasped violently, and breathed the fresh air. Shangguan stood beside Qi Yi's, frowned at Shangguan Li, and said to Qi Yi's, Are you okay? We must not hurt anyone again. It's still possible to beat him together. Chi Knight nodded, 5 people back to back, for fear that the cunning Shangguanli will break several people one by one. Outside is the attack of the minions of the Beast Gate. Inside is Shangguanli, which is close at hand. The pressure on a few people is enormous. But Shangguanli didn't give them time to rest at all. The stones on the ground were wrapped in black energy and flew towards 5 people. The stone came from the front with a sharp wind. 5 people raised their weapons in an instant and banged all the stones on the ground, but it was so painful that the Shangguan could not help showing his teeth. Chi Knight, also not to be outdone, and raised the snake sword toward the official Li stab. Seeing this, Nangong Yi and Shangguan rush forward and attack Shangguan fiercely. The upper official on the opposite side suddenly raises his eyebrows and waves away the attack of Nangong Yi and Nangong Yi, but he sees Chi Knight in front of him approaching. Shangguan took a step back in a hurry and stopped all the 3 men's attacks. But it's not over yet. Meng Bai and Situ Lan shot at Shangguan in an instant. Shangguan looked at several people. He was angry and his fighting spirit suddenly overflowed. His fighting spirit expanded in an instant. A huge energy suddenly attacked the 5 people. Suddenly, several people had no time to cover their faces, so they were knocked down by the Shangguan. Shangguanli didn't stop, and didn't give several people the chance to resist. He clapped his hands in the direction of 5 people. The 5 suddenly turned pale. All of a sudden, a white light flashed in front of the 5 people. Before they knew whether they were enemies or friends, they saw 2 figures suddenly appear in the white light. It's a good time to come. A familiar male voice suddenly came, which made 5 people feel excited one by one. The pressure instantly disappeared. 5 people quickly stood up and rushed to 2 people's side. I haven't seen you for a long time. Did you miss us? Dragon Qing evil hook mouth, a touch of evil smile, handsome abnormal. My little thing also said she miss you. Beside him, Yunwu stands quietly, looking at Shangguanli in front of him, and the clouds are light and the wind is light. Beside Yunwu, Lin Yuntong and Mu Xiaoming also stand beside him, but it's just a tense moment now, so I didn't have time to introduce. Long time no see. Cloud Dance light smile Wei. Seeing Cloud Dance, Shangguanli's face was a little ugly for a moment, but he still said with a smile, we always meet like this. Little 9, little stink, come out. In an instant, Xiaojiao had rushed out and ran toward Shangguanli, while Xiaoqiu, circling in the sky, screamed sharply. After a few circles, he dived down and rushed toward Shangguanli. Gu Wu's sword was held in his hand for a moment. Yun Wu's eyes were cold and didn't speak anymore. His whole body was full of fighting spirit. Gu Wu's sword was wrapped with thunder elements, and he slashed at Shangguan with lightning. As soon as the fighting spirit was urged, everyone knew immediately that this strange woman had already broken through Wuling. 5 people all looked at the figure of Cloud Dance in amazement, and their hearts were full of incredible. Originally, they thought they had caught up with Cloud Dance, but they didn't expect that Cloud Dance had already broken through Wuling before them. Gu Wu's broadsword cuts at Shangguanli's face without any fancy action. Shangguanli lowers his head and sneers. The black air is wrapped in the palm of his hand. He avoids the sharp wind and grabs at Yunwu's wrist. Cloud Dance doesn't evade. Gu Wu broadsword's side passed, slanting toward the neck of Shangguanli cut. Shangguanli heart shock, instantly avoid. Gu Wu's broadsword crossed Shangguanli's neck, and a bloodstain appeared under his neck. Whoosh of the wind, so that everyone was dumbfounded. This little dance is incredible. Shangguan could not help shaking his head and exclaiming, I thought we had the ability to show off to her at last. Long Qingxia stood aside and looked at Yunwu with a smile. In that way, he wanted to see his lover playing in front of him. Little guy, do you need me to untie this Dharma array? Yunwu frowned slightly, but shook his head, did not speak, and continued to attack the Shangguan. Shangguanli is also annoyed. He suddenly roars and pours at Yunwu in front of him. As soon as they saw this, they all looked at each other and ran in the direction of Cloud Dancing. But all of a sudden, the Wan Beast men and others who had been standing outside attacking suddenly rushed into the array. The whole scene was a mess. 5 people and Cloud Dance were separated in an instant. In their hearts, the 5 people were in trouble. They took a long sword and stabbed at the men in front of them. They were wrapped up in fighting spirit. Basically, the minions of the 10,000 Beast sect could not get in. In a short time, the minions of the Beast Gate had fallen to the ground. A river of blood. Cloud Dance has been panting, constantly panting, looking at the front, Shangguanli also panting, the corner of his mouth raised a sneer. Yes, I underestimate you. You're growing up to. Yunwu gasps, but there is a faint smile on her face. After a long struggle, they don't hurt each other. It's just that Yunwu's physical strength drops too fast. Sure enough, there is still a gap, so at this time, it's better to make a quick decision. Suddenly, Xiaoqiu came down from the sky and pecked at Shangguanli's eyes, but he was patted by Shangguanli and left for a long time with a sharp cry. Suddenly, Yunwu's face became more ugly. Little 9, up. Small 9 immediately rushed forward. Behind 9, huge tail spread out, from the ancient authority toward the officially attack and go. Cloud Dance also suddenly pours at Shangguanli Fei. Gu Wu's sword is in his hand, and there's a whir of wind. Shangguanli's face turns pale and turns to his side. Cloud Dance does not give an opportunity at all, backhand continues to slash toward upper official. It was very difficult for Shangguan to deal with it. At this time, the 8 people over there have already come to Yunwu and fight against the minions around them with long Qingxia Lin Yuntong. The momentum of the 8 people made the minions of the Beast Gate tremble. Some of the injured people had fallen on their knees and vomited blood. Yunwu doesn't have a side head. She is fighting with Shangguanli attentively. However, she has already felt everyone's state. She has a confident smile at the corner of her mouth. She looks at Shangguanli and doesn't say a word. Today we're going to get together and talk about what we've seen and heard during our separation. Haha. Shangguan said out loud and laughed. As soon as everyone heard this, they couldn't help but raise their mouths and fight with high morale. Yunwu suddenly raised his sword and ran to Shangguan. They are tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.